How has your day been? My day has not been that okay. Okay, niko sawa kwa sababu nimemaliza hii siku, nimefika hadi hapa, mnaweza niona, mnaweza nisikia, but nataka tu kuambia isikio leo imekuwa siku moja ya kuhuzunisha sana. It's been a very sad day, it's been a very panicky day. Na feel tu mood yangu iko mahali fai kukwani, niko kila mahali mood wise. Moody kali niko kila mahali, you know? I don't feel that. I'm just not okay. Let me just be honest with you, right? And it's part of life, but we always hate it when it happens to us. We never want it to happen to us, but it's part of life. Unanipata, si kila kitu unataka iende kila saa venye ungependa iende, but vitu zinaendaga tu saa hivi zinaenda. But history America kuleta hiyo nini yao hapa hivi Kenya, Ebola, but inanikasirisha sana. But before we start today, for those of you who don't know, Utumishi girls, unfortunately, their dormitory caught fire, and so far we have 16 casualties. Mungu wangu. And they're like 70 bado wako hospitali severely injured, yani they've been injured very badly. So today is just a bad day for Kenya, and it's so weird that the other day today they're also holding what's it called, prayer. It got I don't know what the prayers were for. I'm not sure, but let me not speak enough. Let me not speak much. Let me just take you right away to this school. This is one of the students mwenye unfortunately alikuwa kwa hiyo msiba. Sawa? So let's just hear what she has to say.
Okay, so like I'm a learner from Utumishi Girls Academy, and yesterday being a holiday for the Muslims, as the culture of our school, we normally follow a certain procedure, which is the Saturday program. So we normally go to bed at 9. So at 9 we went to the dorms, and everybody freshened up, ready to sleep. So like when we slept, it was around 12, if I could clearly remember, when somebody in the dorm, Stanford, shouted and said, alishout akasema, kila mtu atoke dom inachomeka. So like kila mtu, like everybody was confused because they didn't know what to do and what to not do. So by the time nilikuwa natoka cube, moto ilikuwa isha cover cube, the pathway of cube 6 and cube 7. So, and that is the pathway that we're supposed to use so that we evacuate the dome. So by the time nilikuwa nafika hapo, moto ilikuwa isha cover the hallway, which means atungeweza kupita. So we had no other option but kurudi kwa cube. So when we went back to the cube, moshi ilikuwa ishafika kwa cube, like the smoke was too high that some of my cube mates were suffocating.
Oh my God.
So like we had no option but to open the window, and we had to jump from Stanford to down.
Aye.
Yeah, ground floor, then first floor. So like from the upper dorm to down, and then I ended up breaking my hand and leg. Yes. So then when I fell down, I couldn't feel my feet, my hand, like I passed out. I didn't know what happened to me after that. But all in all, when I arrived at the hospital, I came back to my senses when I arrived at the Vilnius County Hospital, where they helped me, and at least they tied me up because I had a fracture.
Vigilante, wagwan my G.
On my leg and my hand, and
nice to see you on this side of the internet, my brother.
Then after that, we now came here to St. Joseph. Yeah, and now they've done some x-rays on me. Yeah, and it turns out that I had a broken bone because of the impact. I am in so much pain right now, psychologically, mentally, and physically. I can't say I'm okay because first of all, I have trauma from what has happened. Nothing like that has ever happened to me. Being the first time, and me being such a minor, is just depressing. And physically, I'm in so much pain right now, both my hand and my leg. Yeah.
It's okay. I'm Boniface Motiso. I'm the end of the outpatient department, St. Joseph Rift Valley Hospital. So, at around 3 a.m. in the morning, we were woken up by the ambulance sirens. We activated our emergency team, who turned up now to attend the casualties. At that time, we were brought around 69 students who had multiple injuries resulting from the stampede that occurred after the dormitory caught fire. So we attended 69 students. Then we treated 61 as an outpatient, and we had 8 who were admitted. But there is one student who was picked by the parent to take to the hospital of choice. So most of the students who had injuries were mainly fractures. Around 7 students had fractures that resulted from jumping from a height. So we stabilized them. They are in a stable condition right now.
Aya, so umesikia na mtaka mjuani watu wadogo. Yeah, there's this thing I saw which I wanted to share with you guys. Sijui kama inaweza extend. Okay, inasema the United States, acha ama joke sitaki onekana kidogo. The United States has approved an additional $80 million for the Ebola outbreak response. Kumbuka gava yetu ikisikianga tu pesa kichwa inaruka. Kichwa inaruka. Yeah, man, it is messed up. Imagine watoto wana go through that. That says imagine. Anyway, the United States has approved an additional $80 million for the Ebola outbreak response. This will help procure and deliver additional PPE for healthcare workers in high-risk areas, enhance border screening and surveillance at key points of entry, expand contact tracing to identify and diagnose individuals as early as possible, and procure diagnostic supplies including test kits. We are fucked. Chatu niwaambie ukweli. Isi wangefanya, we should have done this in their country. Why are they gonna do this in Kenya right now? And to make even the matters worse, let me see hapa hivi.
From international health outbreaks, and we as the Ministry of Health are taking all measures to ensure that we protect Kenyans and we protect Kenya.
You guys are puppets. You guys are clowns. Anima puppet wa USA. Anima clowns wa USA. There's nothing they'll do. They'll say they will do something lakini hakuna tatafanya. Anima clowns, bro. Anima puppet. Watafanya kitu amambiwa wafanye. We are fucked.
From international health outbreaks, and so far we are dealing with an international public health outbreak for Ebola that is in DRC. And as you note, we as Kenyans have a very strong healthcare response.
This is a joke, right? Very strong healthcare response.
System. We are also very strong when it comes to case management in terms of infectious diseases in general. And when we talk about case management, we mean hospital preparedness. We have the highest isolation capacity in the entire country, most of it that have also been built over COVID. And when it comes to infectious diseases, as an expert and a professional, I think many healthcare professionals all over the world will confirm to you that the protocol is nearly the same. It's about protection of the health worker. It's about protection against...
But hizi stories zote za Ebola zinaanza wapi? One thing nataka kujua. This thing, last month it was not there. In a breakout in Congo, in a breakout in Uganda, where USA citizens happen to have it, then all of a sudden it's now a Kenyan problem. Now us, we have to say that we have the capacity, we have the, what's it called, equipments. We have the capability to take care of the virus. Si virus yetu. USA inatuletea virus kwa nini? Si yetu. This is not our problem. Hii ni shida USA na Uganda na Congo huko. Mbona si tunaingia kwa hiyo ngori? Mbona ni sisi tunashindaga tunapatiwa usaidizi hatuhitaji? Nini? Inaitwaje nchi? Haiti wanaanza kupigana huko. All of a sudden Kenya inaanza kupeana the police, ni kama sisi ndo tuko over qualified. Kwani Kenya ndo sisi tunaweza supply tu watu wote dunia na help? Sisi ndo tunaweza saidia kila mtu dunia yote? Hizi shida yetu. I don't know why wanataka kutuletea kitu hapa. Na mimi nakwambia hii kitu itakuja kwa serious tukiendelea hivi. Now the worst part is there's nothing we can do. Itakuja whether we like it or not. It is coming. The thing we have to do is just prepare of when, but it is coming. Because weza kuniambia hizo hospitali zimekuwa hizo siku zote. Hizo hospitali zimekuwa hizo siku zote. Zinangoja tu emergency ifanyike. Hapana. We are fucked. Yeah. Oi.
What we call infectious prevention and control in terms of the spread. And it is about ensuring that we mobilize to support the patients and treat them. And so far, 2,200 healthcare workers have been trained. But you also know that Kenya has been at the forefront of international response. In 2015, the country that was relied upon by the world to send 157 experts to help Sierra Leone contain and tackle Ebola from 2014 all the way to 2016. I have even been privileged to be part of the health experts that were in DRC and Rwanda border in 2013, and we were more than 90 of us. All of these are health workforce capacity that no other region, no other country has. And so one of the things we want to ensure the countries that we are capable of what we call case management. The other thing is about laboratory. KEMRI is the fourth most...
Hiyo jump cut imeenda mbio sana. Ever notice how the camera, the scene just cuts itself?
The other thing is about laboratory. KEMRI is the fourth most prepared laboratory in the entire world when it comes to infectious diseases. As a matter of fact, even the countries that are having...
The same KEMRI yenye liba over, ilikuwa 2 billion ama ilikuwa ngapi billion when COVID was here, where they lied about kupatiwa hizi masks, kupatiwa hizo vitu USA imesema. Hizo nini zinaitwaje? Let me read this word first. This kawado ametumia. PPE. In 2020, KEMRI ilikula pesa ya PPE, ikakula pesa ya mask, ikakula pesa ya vitu mingi, sema nataka kuniambia ati nini ati sasa hapana. Hapana. But there's nothing we can do. Sisi tu we are citizens. Kenya has approved a US plan to set up an Ebola quarantine facility at a military base in Laikipia. For Americans. For Americans. Not for Kenyans. Not for Africans. For Americans. Exposed to the outbreak in DRC Congo. Huh? Fucking hell. Yaani kama naweza kuja kwa nyumba yako na sema nataka kutumia ile room kufanya shughuli zangu. Juli nilikupea do kiasi. Mimi naweza ingia kwa nyumba yako na nikae kwa ile room nifanye tu shughuli zangu. Na wewe kuna kitu utafanya. Naweza ingia pale nipike ile chakula ujesikia. Wewe utasikia tu harufu hiyo chakula lakini utaonja hiyo chakula. Juli nilikupatia ganji kiasi. So naweza ingia kwa nyumba yako. Aitawala the way I want to. Na hiyo chakula wewe naweza amua nisikuserve wewe. Naweza leta wageni wangu kwa nyumba yako na nikule chakula nimepika kwa nyumba yako unasikia harufu lakini wewe ukuli. Pana. No. I don't even want to listen to that anymore. Sasa hata kusikia stuff. Hebu nione nini mpya imepostiwa huko. Before tuingie kwa video nilikuwa nataka kucheza. Hata sasa kufikiria hizo story mingi. Sasa nikasirisha tu bure. Africa CDC on Kenya having Ebola quarantine center. We are not familiar with this policy of bringing people from everywhere to quarantine them. Yeah, true. Sasa wanataka kuanza kuleta outside. Hawataki kuleta Americans only. By the end of point fulani tulisahau kusoma pale hivyo. Wana suggest pia wanaweza leta nationalities wengine. Wanataka kuleta pia nationalities wengine waweze kutibiwa kwa facility in Laikipia. Bro. We have network biocontainment units in the US that were built and refined with dedicated expertise since 2014. Yet somehow we think it's a good idea to build a facility in 7 days. In 7 days in Kenya. With minimally trained staff as an alternative to this. This is a disaster in the making and a waste of resources which would have been used to help contain the resource. Exactly. Sikia mwendawazimu. Trump directs US... Trump orders US military to set up Ebola quarantine facilities in Kenya within 1 week. Tuambiani ukweli. Hii kitu inaweza tengenezwa na wiki moja, bro. Katupimu. Okay, I think wanaweza tengeneza. Wiki moja hapana, uongo. It's impossible. 2 months, yes. Kwa sababu lazima watacontain hizo vitu, wajengezo manini poa. 1 week. Na tuseme, hiyo hata nasema 2 months. Ni kama zile unaonanga China. Unajua China wanafanyanga kazi 24/7. Yani kazi isimami. Hii hapa, siko sure. But unaedi mshua na wameanza kumwaga pesa. Ruto. Mungu wangu Ruto. The United States military is set to establish a quarantine facility in central Kenya within a week to house Americans exposed to Ebola, as the deadly virus continues spreading rapidly across the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda. This was after news came in that the Trump administration is planning to send Americans exposed to Ebola to the quarantine facility in Kenya. What the fuck would they set it up in Uganda? Mbona wangi set up huko Congo? They have to bring it to Kenya. Discrete resources say that the plan will incorporate a field hospital that will have a 50-bed unit ready within a week, with the potential to expand to 250 beds at a later stage. Poleni. Discrete sources say that the plan will incorporate a field hospital that will have a 50-bed unit ready within a week, with the potential to expand to 250 beds at a later stage, with US personnel expected to receive prefabricated medical facilities easily transported by truck and by airplane. Yeah, niliwaambia ile story ya ndege. Si niliwaambia hawezi enda na truck, lazima tu kwa ndege. The facility is being set up through a coordinated effort involving the U.S. Department of State, Health and Human Services and Defense, according to the Washington Post. Oh yeah, fuck man. Hii kitu inanikasirisha tata. Halafu ona Duale hapa anajifanya kusikia kitu anasikia. Ona huu polisi hapa nyuma hata ajui nini inaendelea. Yeye kazi yake natakanga tu kuua majenzi. Uni Murkomen. Yeah. An administration official explained that Kenya's location is more preferable when it comes to flying US patients home from the DRC. The facility is designed to provide access to high quality care for Americans who would need to quickly get out of DRC or quarantine without the risk of a lengthy transport back to the US. State the official. Several cases involving Americans exposed to the virus have been recorded, including an American doctor treated in Germany, while 6 others have been transferred to Germany and the Czech Republic for monitoring. Additionally, 1 American has been confirmed infected with Ebola in the DRC. And at least 6 other Americans exposed to the virus have been evacuated from the region, though it's unclear if any additional US citizens have tested positive at the time. The directive comes as US Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated on Wednesday, May 27th, that no individual affected with Ebola, including American citizens, will be allowed entry into the country, while the United States simultaneously steps up screening measures at all entry Someone posted a video today at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. There was no screening. People were walking in and walking out casually. There was no screening. Okay, let me continue this. Reports indicate that members of the U.S. Public Health Service have already begun training at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland ahead of deployment to staff the Kenyan facility. Even so, military officials in the U.S. are reportedly concerned that the training period, which lasted only 3 days, is not sufficient. Of course it's not sufficient. Something of this magnitude inataka years, sangine hata months of training. 3 days! Inanikumbusha those people who go to fight in Russia. Unapata mtu ametrainiwa 1 week, unatupa kwa field huko. Unaenda unauliwa na watu wa Ukraine huko na hizo nini. Inaitwaje? Drones. Huko you are not trained, you are not a professional. Yet umetupa mali watu professional wako. Na hii ni ugonjwa kubwa sana. But wanataka kuletwa hapa hivi na 3-day training. To affirm Kenya's preparedness to tackle the Ebola virus spread, Health Cabinet Secretary Adan Duale pointed out on May 27 that Kenya has activated its National Incident Management System, IMS, incentivized surveillance at points of entry. Lies. Of course he's lying because kuna mtu ako kwa airport amepostio video. Nothing has been done. Designated laboratories for testing and strengthened coordination mechanism at national and county levels. Liars. Fucking liars, bro. Liars. Watu wanatupima. Anyway, nataka tu mjue Ebola iko. And it's coming to Kenya. Sasa itabaki tu tumeprepare for whatever comes. This is what happens when you allow men sexual deviant to female. Kenyan police officer full of pride after extorting oppressed Kenyans. Polisi ni adui ya siku zote. Ukweli muone haikosi ni demo. Ini karibu ngapi? 10. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 12 13 14 15. So karibu 20,000 per day. Karibu 20,000 per day, my friend. Imagine, you make 20,000 per day through corruption. Uko tu kwa barabara unasimamisha hivi 20,000 na kuna watu wanakula hapo hapa nje. Ya. Mbaba, I needed to show you this brother. Brother kasirika.
It's like only for you to know the information. There's money up there. You're not telling us anything. I want to know where my daughter is. Almost it's now midday. It's now midday. Since morning. Please. Let me check whether my daughter is among the dead. Excuse me, madam. Just tell me my daughter is among the dead. I'm a community hospital. Period. Stop lecturing me. I don't want stories.
Yeah. Baba anataka kujua mtoto wake ako wapi manze. They wanna know mtoto wetu ako wapi. Kitu inaniumiza. Someone posted something about Enda Russia. Chipto amini. Tuone history kidogo.
This is not a political rally. Mshinda hapa mkiongea maneno mingi inasaidia nini? Very wrong.
History inauma. Hata polisi najua tu wako pale anajaribu kuwhisper vitu kwa masikio yake, but the man is not. Yani history tu ni it's messed up. Let me be honest. History tu is messed up. Mungu wangu, messed up. Messed up. Jesus, messed up. Messed up kabisa. Kabisa.
Sima nani ya mkutano hapa? Si mambo ya campaign.
Hapo the worst part is the men are panic. Kama ule ni mbaba. Ule mbaba ashatoa shati akisema mtoto wake, huo ni mbaba. Wamama nadhani wanasikiaje? Huo nadhani watoto wanasikiaje? Let's see this one.
Hoti kwamba shule ya Utumishi usiku ya leo.
Sasa imagine anu watoi madem na tukiangalia pale kwa background unaweza ona hii ni first floor, hii ni second. Na tukojua tu aliruka kutoka hapa hadi chini ndugu. Kutoka hapa hadi chini. Hapa nani watoi madem? Si maboy, unaweza sema at least wako athletic kushinda madem to a certain extent. Kutoka hapa hadi huku chini mtu wangu. Wewe adhani kitu inaumaje wewe? Adhani kitu inaumaje? Hii ni pain.
Na siku ndefu sana ya giza. Saa 8 usiku, saa 7 na kitu usiku nilipata ripoti kwamba shule ya Utumishi Girls imechomeka. Na mimi kama mzazi ya hii shule niko na msichana wangu, one of the triplets ako form 4. Na tulipata hii ujumbe kwa mshtuko sana kwa sababu ilikuwa usiku wa manane. Nilitoka Nakuru tukiwa na wenzangu ambao tuliandamana nao, tukakuta shule ukiwa na majonzi nyingi, na pia tuliweza kukaa huko nje kwa sababu watoto ambao waliumia na wengine ambao walikuwa wametoka dormitory kwa sababu dormitory yao iliungua, wote walikuwa upande ule wa uwanja na tungeweza kuona. Sasa tulikuwa na wasiwasi kwa sababu hatukuwa tunajua kama watoto wetu wako hai kama wako. Hiyo ndio ilikuwa wasiwasi wetu. Baadaye tukakuja kuongeleshwa na maofisa wa serikali kama saa 12 asubuhi, tangu saa 8 mpaka saa 12 asubuhi wakakuja kutuongelesha, wakatuambia tutulie kwa sababu serikali ilikuwa inaendelea kusaidia watoto ambao walikuwa wengine walikuwa wanapelekwa hospitalini. By saa 2, karibu saa 2 tukapelekwa katika hall tukiwa wazazi, tukiwa na majonzi kubwa. Tukaongeleshwa kwamba jambo hili lilitendeka hivyo, tukaambiwa tutulie kama wazazi, tukaambiwa wengine wako hospitalini na wengine waliweza kutoweka usiku ambapo hawajulikani pahali wako, na uchunguzi inaendelea kufanya na kusakwa penye hao watoto wako. Bahati mzuri Mtoto wangu tuliweza kupatana na yeye kama saa 3 na kitu asubuhi, na ilikuwa na majonzi ya furaha sana kumshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu. Lakini hata saa hizi pia tunaombea wazazi ambao wajakutana na watoto wao kwamba tuwaambie Mungu wako nao na watoto wao watapatikana, kwa sababu wengine watapatikana hospitali. Tunaomba Wakenya muweze kutuombea na tutulie tunapoendelea na serikali CS na serikali kuu inaendelea pamoja na gavana
wa wahudumu wa magari ya umma ndani ya mtaa wa Gatwikira Kibra, ambako tarehe 18 mwezi huu, siku ambayo shughuli za usafiri zilitatizika kufuatia mgomo wa wahudumu wa magari ya umma ndani ya mtaa wa Gatwikira Kibra, ambako utulivu ulishuhudiwa, Maureen Masili alijipata mashakani. Majibizano kati yake na mtu anayefahamiana vizuri yalimchongea.
Ni maneno ya tutam ndio imefanya nifike hapa hospitali.
Maureen anadai kumwagiwa maharagwe ya moto.
Sasa ule akamwambia watu wamegoma, magari watu wamegoma kwa barabara, na nini wewe unatusinya na mambo ya tutam. Akaenda kwa kibanda ya mtu akachukua maharagwe moto akamwagilia.
Familia iliyopiga ripoti katika kituo cha Kibra imesema mshukiwa anayejulikana eneo hilo bado hajakamatwa.
Maureen ameumia mwili kuanzia kwa matiti, kitofu, private parts zake na kwa magoti, kwa mapaja. Ameumia sana, alafu daktari
nikaa alikuwa amekaa chini, si ndio?
Anasema hapo kwa kitofu ndio kuna moto iliingia sana.
Kama mtu anaweza chomwa hivyo na ana makosa, serikali iangalie vitu kama hizo vitu.
Itaangalia ndugu yangu. Atakuwa funzo. Si kuna huyu mwenye ameuliwa hapa hivi juzi, alikuwa anaitwa nani mama ameuliwa juzi hapa hivi na jina yake. Madha fulani alichomwa na wasee akakufa, hata matanga yake bado. Inafaa kukua I think this weekend. Tena ndio watu washacho Mungu. Kenya.
Kuchoma hii Maureen amechomeka vibaya sana. Sema kweli hata mimi mwenyewe kama ndugu yake ni kama hiyo uchungu mimi naisikia.
Tunaomba serikali iingilie kati, tusaidie maneno ikome kabisa. Kwa sababu ikiendelea hivi hata kuna watu innocent wengi wenye wanaumia na wafiki huko mbele.
Kamanda wa polisi Kilimani Patricia Yegon amedhibitisha maafisa wa upelelezi wanachunguza kisa hicho kilichoripotiwa na dadake Maureen baada ya dadake kufikishwa hospitali ya kitaifa ya Kenyatta. Maafisa wa upelelezi kwa sasa wanawasaka mashahidi watakaosaidia katika kesi hiyo ya uhalifu wa chuki.
Pisa! Mtu anaamka 4am. Mtu anaamka 4am kutafuta tax. F the police. Guards are in Nairobi at 4 in the morning trying to survive through government of Kenya economic terror, and they are met with this kiganjo minor brutality meant to extort them after planting marijuana on their person. They can't keep living like this. They come. Well, shike simu blood. Hey Neema, hey Nella, I hope you are okay. So sorry about how the police harassed you and your boyfriend today, Mama. Also, post them, it will be known how one of them even slapped you. And for the cramps, I'm so sorry. Please take medication.
Unampeleka wapi? Unampeleka wapi? Watu wanatuslap tu, wanatushuku. Mnatukuta mnapeleka. Bila watu wametuna tunatoka performance, wanatushika, wanashuku tuko na bangi. Mademu ngapi wako hapa? Mbona unashika hawa madem? Na ni slap tu wanadhani manze. Hao watu police by the way. Mbona mkafae kile tafuta tax? This is so wrong. Aendi bahali. Nishikeni basi pia mimi. Nishikeni pia mimi. Mmeita wenzake wamenislap. Just because anakuja kwa bangi.
Jo, pigania mtu wako, ride or die. Tunapenda hii.
Hata kuna kitu tumepanga. Amekuwa wenzake wakanislap just because anachukua niko na bangi. So wrong. Kusimamisha wasichana wakinyesha ndio muangalie bangi ya kuna.
Wanakuaga hivyo. Hata mimi kuna siku fulani nilikuwa nasafiri naenda inaitwaje? Kisumu. Alafu hiyo pande ya Mudhurwa nimebeba bag yangu napeleka kwa basi huko, polisi mimi sinaenda hivi. Anakuja na ni block. Ati umebeba nini kwa hii bag? Ananifanya mimi nasimama katikati ya town na bag chini namfungulia namwambia angalia kitu unataka. Ati lidhani uko na bangi gani? Bangi gani? Nishindano polisi kichwa yako ni bangi ya nini? Makende yako. Mbwe, kila mtu upenda hii bangi hivyo. Tu nikasirisha.
Mbota na nyuma hivi wanamshika kwa nywele. Hapana sikuji na
ametusi. Ufala ni ufala. Tupige kwa unatupiga.
Ulinitusi huko.
Wacha tuweke evidence.
Snatch matako yako.
Mbona chukua simu yake? Record. Kila mtu record.
Ndio hiyo. Hiyo ndio situation iko Kenya. Watoto wetu wanachoma huko, Ebola ndio inakuja lakini wakuiba bado wanaiba. Injured Utumishi girls students airlifted to Nairobi for special treatment after daily school fire broke maze. Alafu mjue tena kuna wale walikuwa wamechomeka lakini nini kwa wako bado ndani ya dome. Unapata? Mwili zao bado ziko ndani ya dome. Some of them hata zilikuwa zimetolewa. Wazazi washafika hiyo masaa. Sasa operation izifanyika, juu wazazi wanataka kujua mtoto wangu wako pale, jina yake nani yako wapi, watoto wengine wamepelekwa wapi, kila mtu anataka kujua story. Ndio maana kitu imetake long hivyo manze. And this is very bad, this is very very serious, very very serious manze. Very serious. Hurts my soul. Hurts my soul kufikiria tu story inaniumiza roho kabisa. Sawa, inaniumiza roho kabisa. Now, let me see what I can. Nini ingine tunaweza ona hapa hivi regarding your story before nitoke. Ndio dem hapa.
What would you say is your relationship with God like?
My relationship with God is I believe in God, but I don't church.
You don't church?
Yeah, but I know
everybody can say I believe in God. But
shida yetu ni sasa tushatoka darasa sana, nimekuja tena kuwafunza. Lazima mjue hizo lessons. You'll tell me what you learn at the end of this video.
What would you say is your relationship with God like?
My relationship with God is I believe in God, but I don't church.
You don't church?
Yeah, but I know
everybody can say I believe in God, but as a believer, it is said, do not forsake the gathering of the brethren of the saints. So obviously, salvation is personal. So you can do your own study, your own prayer in your house, but there's something that happens when you gather together as brethren. So you can't tell me you don't church and I'm a church girl. I like to go to church.
Are you a Christian, Muslim, atheist?
I'm a Christian.
Why do you hesitate? You took so long. Do you want to expound on that?
I'm a Christian by not going to church. I don't have any social gathering. I don't have a church I attend. I'm a Christian because I believe in God. I believe in doing things right. And yes.
He was saying everything right. I think the only thing that he said, which we're probably going to have another conversation about that, was him not going to church. But aside from that, he was saying everything right.
Inakuwaga hivyo ndugu zangu. Inakuanga that way. Na kupatia tu game kwa sababu mimi napendanga kupeana tu ukweli. If they put rules on you, ukiona tu umeanza kupewa rules, just know she's not attractive to you. Kiona wewe umeanza kuwekewa rules. You cannot call me at this time. You cannot text me at this time. You cannot touch me here. You cannot do this there. Oh, vitu ndogo zinamkasirisha about you. Just know you're not the one. You've seen how she switched the moment someone she's attracted to alishow up kwa scene. All the rules, all the regulations, alizitupa out of the window. But here's something funny. The first guy is an IT tech guy. Very smart guy. Making much money. The second guy mwenye amechagua ni mixologist. Ni mtu anafanya kwa club. Na allegedly udem pia anapenda nightlife. Ama she was in the nightlife before ingia story ya church. Unanipata? So, unanielewa? Yeah. They would choose fun over stability. They will choose fun over stability. Sa, this is why we never chase. Indio maana usiwaji sumbona chase. Indio why never ever in your whole life find yourself una chase. Akikuonesha akuna like the response haiko. Reciprocate intimacy, reciprocate respect, unajisumbua bro. Alafu kitu kingine ujue ni madem akunanga kitu kama mixed signals. That mixed signal already is a signal, and the signal is hayuko connected to you. Tafuta mtu ko connected na yeye, usijisumbue hapo hivyo. Sawa? Easy. Hii kitu inakonga a tale as old as time. Rules for you because she does not like you. Breaks the rules for the man she likes. Sawa? Hello. Pia unajua mtu wa pili ni project. Zile za I can change him. I can make him start going to church. Hai, by the time anajua amechezwa yake yote. Amebomolewa bomo na watu wengine. This must be DVMB. This must be dumb. If you think the police and the politicians care about you, of course they don't. Sitaki hata kuonesha hiyo. Itanishtua. Hiyo itanishtua. Ngoja. Let me restart this. Let me repost this. Nitakuja kukiona baadaye. Namachana nike comment ufala hapa. Sasa nataka kuwapeleka YouTube. Kuna video nataka kuonesha YouTube. A very good video. Like this. So I come back. Reply. Hi. I want to take you all the way to YouTube. And what's the name of this? Yeah, one of my favorite shows. It's complicated. Yeah. Mtu anaulizanga maswali fiti sana. And iko hapo video nilikuwa nataka kuona. Patriarchy versus traditional rules of modern dating and understanding women 4 months ago. Kuna yenye amefanya leo. Hiyo ndio nataka tuongelee kwa sababu unajua kuna this notion of men wanawaga madem to enslave them. So now this guy takes us through hii journey. Hello. Yeah? Anatupeleka kwa safari. I hope you guys are enjoying the video.
Should men have the freedom to ditch their traditional gender roles just like women do?
Yes,
Nope.
absolutely. Why not?
I think that might limit them sometimes, but I feel like everyone should have freedom to do what they want to do, no matter what sex they are.
You should be able to have that freedom. Everybody should have the liberty to do whatever they want in a relationship. But is it frowned upon? Yes, for men. Yes, it is, of course.
What do you think that does to his dating options and why?
Well, they probably limits them by a significant amount if he's looking for women, but
I prefer a traditional woman. I want to take care of you, and I want you to take care of me emotionally, and I'll take care of you financially and physically. That's me. If you ditch that, you're probably going to get with someone who doesn't give a shit about you.
Women's gender roles originally were just to stay at home and be housewives, and men were to go to work, and they're still expected to do that and provide for the family, but women aren't, in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So does he actually have the freedom, or do women enforce these roles based on their selections in men?
I think it's a man's choice, and women, I think naturally women probably want to procreate, and so generally would reinforce it, but if a man doesn't want to do that, then it's his choice.
I think a lot of girls expect the man to provide and work while they stay at home, and if a man doesn't want to do that, then that like it decreases his options.
What do you think that does to his dating options and why?
What does it do? I mean, it probably limits them because a lot of women have a different, like, set boundaries. But I mean, once you find the person that is okay with it, it's kind of, it works.
So does he actually have the freedom, or do women enforce those roles based on their selections in men?
Probably enforce it because everyone has boundaries, but...
So do you think that men are slaves to their gender roles?
Yes.
I would like to say no, but then I guess you could turn around and think, are women slaves to their gender roles as well?
Well, yeah, but do you think that a woman has to cook and clean and do all those like traditional things to be with men?
No.
That you said women have to?
No, do you think that women have to do all those traditional things to be with men?
No.
No.
But men have to provide, protect, and then to be with women, right? Rules zetu hazichangingi, lakini za madem can change whenever they feel like it. Na bado kuna mtu anakuambia marriage only benefits men. Which men?
No.
So then wouldn't men be more likely to be slaves to their gender roles than women?
Then probably.
Why do people think male loneliness is self-inflicted if women's mate choice still overwhelmingly rewards traditional masculinity?
Yeah, unfortunately, women want the top like 5% of men, and so that leaves just 95% of men with no choices.
Yeah.
Why do women complain about a gender pay gap if men typically have to earn more money in order to be chosen by women?
True.
Because in today's day and age, women are single mothers, they live on their own, they're lesbians, and they also need to make as much as men do.
If a man doesn't want to be the provider, protector, or initiator in dating, is that attractive?
It depends on who's, what the girl wants. But personally, yes, that's not attractive. That's like, I would want a man to provide. I wouldn't want him to it depends. Like if he's just staying at home doing absolutely nothing, I wouldn't want that.
Why are gender roles optional for women but mandatory for men?
I feel like they're optional for women because women have a idea that they don't have to do certain things if they don't want to do it. But men, you can have that same idea, but you just won't be chosen at the end of the day.
I don't think it's necessarily that way. I think that we're opening up more.
So ndo maana unaonaga most of the time nikisikia watu wanasema ati marriage benefits men, ati woman is a slave to the man. Unaonaga tena shtunga kinaumwa na kichwa kwa sababu ukisikia reasoning yao mse venye anauliza, by the way, unagundua kunanga kitu watu wengine wanaongeaga tu kuongea. They yap just to yap. They do not do the research vizuri. Hawajakaa chini wa analyze this situation vizuri because imagine if we all decided me I don't want to provide, me I don't want to protect. Tutaitwa majina zote unaweza itwa dunia. And most of the time you hear them say, oh, a real man. Have you ever heard of them speak about a real man? Wakianza kudescribe a real man, una notice who real man, first of all ni simp, second of all ni slave, third of all ni duster, yenye inaweza tumike na nakanyagweza walk over manze. Hawa describe bigi mwanaume attractive, mwanaume dominant, mwanaume vitu zote, ni mwanaume anawaserve. Ndo maana mdem ati allegedly mdem akipikia mwanaume wadem anaita slavery, but mwanaume akipikia mdem, let's say bibi yake, oh that's a real man, wanaanza kufanya takataka, wanafanyanga bro.
As a society for both roles, but yeah, probably the male traditional gender role is moving a little bit slower.
Why are gender roles optional for women but mandatory for men?
This is waking me up. I'm not gonna lie. These questions are waking me up. I don't.
Yeah, hajaifikiria hivyo kwa sababu wanakuwaga entitled to it. They believe they deserve it. And it's so prevalent to them that they've never sat down and wondered what the other side is. Kwa sababu wamezoea. Ino maana utapeleka mdemo hoteli ajaenda. The first thought kwa akili yake ni let me order the most expensive food here. Let me order the most nice thing here. Yani kwa sababu kwa akili yao wanadhani it's supposed to be like that. Mara ngapi umesikia if you're not gonna do it, mwanaume mwingine atafanya. If you're not gonna do it, another man will do. Kwa sababu mentality inatoka wapi? Kwa sababu they believe what you as a man are not doing, another one will do. Upumbavu.
I don't know. I couldn't answer that.
What would it look like for optional for women but mandatory for men?
This is waking me up.
Optional for women.
Traditional gender role is moving a little bit slower.
Nilikuja nikwambia you gotta play the game. Ndio sana nikwambia we have to play the game as them. We have to show them. We have to put a mirror to them. Zile nonsense wanasemanga, hata sisi tunasema hizo nonsense back to them. Alafu utaona wakianza kufikiria za enyewe, do I sound this dumb? Do I sound like this? Maybe I need to do better. But watu walioneo live stream tu buda, wewe uko jaba. Hello.
Why are gender roles optional for women but mandatory for men?
This is like waking me up. I'm not gonna lie. Like, these questions are waking me up. I don't know. I couldn't answer that.
What would it look like for men to fully opt out of traditional male roles?
Broke women, sad women. Women will no longer be entitled because we're only necessary to them when it comes to serving them. But can you imagine, tuamue, now we are not gonna protect, now we are not gonna provide. Hiyo provisioning Mr. Fanya. Kila mtu ajifanyie sasa, hakuna gender roles. Made wataruka kichwa wewe. Kwanza wetu entitled, wataruka kichwa. Watakuwa kina sasa podcast after podcast after podcast. Kwa sababu me am a strong believer. Kama wewe you're not keeping up with your end of the bargain, why should I keep up with my end of the bargain? Kama unasema kufua ni slavery, kunipikia ni slavery, kuchunga nyumba ama na watoto ni slavery, hata mimi tuseme tu kweli, there's no need for me niende nikae kazi 9 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 8 hours a day, niende pale after hapo bado niende zoezi gym, at least to stay fit, to protect you, to be there for you. Alafu kwako uone ni slavery. Kwa sababu ilifika point fulani mademu anauliza, so wanaume si wanaletanga tu pesa tu, wanaletanga tu pesa. Yani to them they're so used to seeing men with money to the point they assume all men have money. Ni rahisi sana kuleta pesa, lakini kuosha nyumba kufua maguo unaniambia tinafaa kupika, lakini kwako unaona kutengeneza pesa ni rahisi. Anyway,
honestly, I feel like if they completely like switch sides, they would just be at home cooking, cleaning. But I think it should be equal. Like, I feel like both the woman and the man should be working, providing for the household, and also cleaning up as well.
If a woman seeks independence, we call it empowerment. Mm-hmm. If a man seeks freedom from his obligations, what do we call that?
Probably laziness.
Why is there a difference?
Because a man is like seen as like he's supposed to be doing this.
Do you think men are slaves to their gender roles?
Yes.
Yeah, if you want to be a good husband or a good boyfriend or whatever role you're playing in your relationship, then I feel like you have to play that role and you have to play it well.
I feel like men should be slaves to a point. I don't mean slaves in a negative way. I mean, make your woman happy, she'll make you happy. If for some reason you're not understanding the gender roles, it's probably why you're not happy, in my opinion.
Who enforces gender roles more, men or women?
I feel like women do.
Yep.
How?
Women, they say that you're supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do that. And I feel like men, on the other hand, are pretty much just relaxed and laid back. Now, a lot of traditional men may enforce it, but I feel like women overall more likely to enforce those gender roles.
Why are gender roles strictly enforced in straight relationships as opposed to same-sex couples?
Yep. Nilikuwa nafikiria kitu leo nikiosha vyombo. Kama mwanaume na mwanamke wakiwa na relationship, women are saying a man and a woman are married, that woman is a slave to the man. So when it comes to lesbians relationship, when it comes to gay relationship, who is the slave there? Nani ni slave hapo? All of a sudden ndo na mademu ameanza kusema they can work together. Oh, so two lesbians can work together. Mahoma Williams work together. But the man and the woman, they cannot work together. Lazima mwanaume akuwa na mkanyanyasa. Hapo na unaanza kuona ile naambia ile kitu yenye sasa wanataka kugeuza mademu wengi malesbobo. Wanataka kugeuza mademu wengi malesbobo kwa sababu unaoneshwa wewe na mwanaume, wewe mwanaume amekukalia. Lakini wewe na mwanamke mnaweza fanya kazi pamoja. Hello.
Sure about that. I think the gays have it absolutely. They have the best situation possible. Open relationships, everyone's happy. I don't quite understand why it's different in traditional relationships.
I think women will prefer for the man to do everything and like pay for things that need to be paid for.
Yep.
But when you're dating same sex as I am, it's kind of just like, oh, okay, you're paying, I'll get you next time. Okay, you're paying, you're buying me this, I'll get you next time.
When women go out with women, they'll often split the bill and hold the door open for each other.
Yep.
Why is it as soon as a man's involved, he has to do all the work?
Yeah.
I think women consider it more respectful for the man to do the things for the woman because of traditional habits.
Who enforce that tradition? It's because it benefits them. Mademu wakienda peke yao klabu watachanga whatever they need to changa. Wewe ukienda na madem club all of a sudden kama alikuwa na kunywa KC ginger lemon, hiyo siku ni Hennessy. Na ujue ataleta bado beste yake, na ataitisha kuku club, na ataitisha nyama club, na ataitisha uba kwenda mtaa. Akiwa sasa na wewe, all of a sudden vitu zake zote anaweka backbana. Akiwa peke yake atanunua shati pengine ya 150 whatever pale hivyo country bus akitembea unaisha shati anaweza nunua 150. Akiwa na wewe anataka designer. Na wewe hujaikaa chini ujiulize ni aje watu wanakupima wazimu hivyo. Mbona wewe siku ya Valentine unamgift kitu expensive, yeye anakupea sijui ni boxer, sijui ni short. Na bado mnaona ngati sisi mimi nakwambia usipoleta bakili yako 2026 utakuwa na sava madem milele. And they are benefiting. So you'll never see them speak against it. Again. Maybe sijui. Maybe sina do. Unajua pengine mtu ana do ana yap mingi. Mtu akona pesa cannot feel it. Kwake ni normal. Kwake is something anafanya tu kufanya. But ukikaa chini upige hesabu utaikimbiza hata saa zingine relationship because unakimbiza mtu ende ulipe bills zake. Unakimbiza mtu ende umlinde.
Wouldn't it be polite and respectful for women to do all the same things for men?
Yep.
Yes, like me as a woman, I do the same things for my guy friends and things like that. I think it would be a lot more respectful.
If a man ditches his gender roles, does that make him a woman?
They'll say that.
No, I don't think it makes him a woman per se. It's just what he chooses to be.
Utasikia akisema wanaume generation wako na umama, wanaume generation wako na umama ingine. Now they want us to chase them. Remember when we stopped chasing them? Remember ilifika point ati na kutext, hi, unaniacha on red sijui nini, nimeenda, nimesonga. Remember zile siku za una approach them, unamuomba namba anaanza kuringa, unaenda. Hizo siku walianza kusemaje, men these days wako na ubichi. When we wanted the same treatment we give them. Ulikisema tupatie your treatment back. So wanaanza kuambia, excuse wanaume are like princesses. They want princess treatment. Men these days are in their princess era just because we ask to be treated the same way we treat them. They shame you to being a bitch.
Man, if you ditch your gender roles, I mean, it's literally called gender roles. If you're not doing your role as in your gender, then I guess you're not that gender anymore.
If a woman ditches her roles, does that make her a man?
Nope.
No, absolutely not. No one says that.
I feel like women have more of a say-so in this because a man is more prepared to take care of himself, whereas women feel like sometimes they want to be taken care of. They don't need to be. Let's not get that twisted, but sometimes women want to be more than men.
What happens to relationships if both partners reject traditional roles?
Ooh. Then I guess we just have a completely different culture and society, and that's probably where we're moving.
If equality is the goal, should expectations decrease for everyone or increase for everyone?
I think it, I don't know. I think maybe decrease, and I feel like everyone should be doing the same thing.
Do we judge men more harshly for not fulfilling roles than we judge women?
Of course.
Yes.
Why is that?
I feel like men have a certain stigma over them that if you don't do what a man is supposed to do, whatever that's supposed to mean to you, then you're not a man.
So how are men not just slaves to their gender roles?
They are slaves.
That is true. That is very true.
Kwa sababu if you went to ukienda date, udema kubo, umwambie ni aje, mimi nalipa bili yangu ya kitu nimekula. Si ataanza kukutusi, you're not a real man, you're a fake man, you're a bitch. Nataka tuspili kitu 50-50. Manze mwezi sijatengeneza do enough msupa. Tabaki jo tumechipin kwa rent. Wataanza kukujudge. To the point akina if Mungai walikuwa anasemaje, if I start to make more money than you, mimi nitakukosea heshima. Where does that mindset come from? Because you are a slave, manze. You are a slave to your gender roles. But who? Nani alianzisha story ya gender roles? Na mjue hizo stories za gender roles madema hawataki. When it comes to serving you the man hawataki, but wanataka wewe waserve. Na ujeka chini ujiulize mbona.
What would it look like for men to fully opt out of traditional male roles?
I think you would see more men in like childcare, in traditionally feminine workforces. That'd probably be a big one.
we would have less roads and less buildings and less construction in general, less sewage, less of a lot of things that men do to build this community.
Would society function differently if large numbers of men stopped protecting and providing?
Yes.
Well, yes, I think it would. I mean, well, I think that women are obviously working more within the last 70 years and conforming to, what was traditionally seen as a male role. And so it's just we are constantly changing. Culture is constantly changing. Roles are constantly changing. So nothing's traditional anymore.
Do people still prefer traditional male behavior even while saying roles shouldn't matter?
Yep.
Yes, I think deep down for many people they do, although I think there are parts of society that are changing, but women do appreciate assertive men. We prefer men that take care of us. Yeah, a lot of women do.
Is there a difference between what we say we believe and what we reward in practice?
Yes.
Actions speak louder than words.
If a woman seeks independence, we call it empowerment. If a man seeks freedom from obligation, what do we call that?
A lot of people would like to call it cowardice.
Not attractive.
Why might those reactions be different?
It depends who you're talking to and probably where you're from.
Because if a man runs from responsibility, people see it as him running from his role. And if a woman seeks freedom, it's empowerment because, like I said earlier, other women like to stick beside other women. And a lot of men won't do that because they'll frown upon other men for doing exactly that.
Should fairness mean equal rights, equal responsibilities, or both?
Yeah, I think it's a both situation. I mean, equality just means, the freedom to be able to be who you want to be.
At what point does unfairness become injustice?
When it actively affects how you can live your life.
Can you define the word emasculate?
Emasculate, like strip a man of his masculinity.
Emasculate means to deprive a man of his male role or identity.
Yeah.
So is emasculating men humiliation or liberation?
Humiliation.
I don't know what liberation is.
Freedom.
Freedom?
I feel like it's both because, you're liberated from the normal male roles, but at the same time, you're humiliated because someone doesn't feel like you can take on those male roles.
If a man doesn't want to be the provider, protector, or initiator in dating, is that okay?
As long as you're upfront about it and you're on the same page, do what you want.
If a woman prefers not to cook, clean, or be nurturing, most people accept that. Should the same acceptance apply to men in reverse situations?
Yes.
Like I said, I think it depends on your partner. I love cooking for my partner. It's really all about if you're communicating.
Do we judge men more harshly for not fulfilling roles than we judge women?
Yes.
I think men judge themselves harsher.
Aye. What?
Why would women appreciate the sacrifices men make when men are required to make those sacrifices to be with women in the first place?
Yep.
I don't think they're necessarily required to. It's a choice because of what attracts women.
But there's a lot of girls out there that say they want all this and all that, but then they still get them with a man that does absolutely nothing, stays on the couch,
Why does modern relationship often mean modern privileges for women, but traditional obligations for men?
Yeah. Ule mtu wangu anaitwaga President Law. So unaulizanga hiyo, are you a modern woman ama a traditional woman? 9 out of 10 times they say modern woman. So what makes you a modern woman? I don't cook, I don't clean, I don't do this, I don't do that. But they expect the man to be a traditional man kwa sababu inawa benefit. Waendelea kubenefita watu.
Because that's evolution.
Would society function differently if large numbers of men stopped protecting or providing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How so?
Because a lot of women now expect the man to buy them expensive things, provide, spend a lot of money on them, wife them up, have kids, while they do absolutely nothing. Well, they clean the house, make sure everything's done, while they just provide all the money.
Can true equality exist if only one side can safely reject expectations without social or romantic punishment?
Okay, so I think that kind of a question is something that will evolve over time. We think one way now, but in 20 years, we might think completely different culturally.
Where do you think we're headed?
I think we are headed into a much more open society, a much more blended society
Which
in
one?
terms of race, ethnicity. So yeah, everything is just becoming more open.
Would society function differently if large numbers of men stopped protecting or providing?
Yeah.
Yes, society would function differently.
How so?
I feel like there would be an overwhelming amount of men that would just lay comfortably or be comfortably in a relationship and not want to do anything. And women wouldn't be okay with that. And I feel like a lot of relationships wouldn't be in existence today.
Kwa sababu we do the things we do mostly because of the women. Tunafanya hizi vitu mingi juu ya madem. Wanaume na normal day utakaa bed sitter comfortably. Ukiwa na dem unapata uko na ka 2 bedroom, ka 1 bedroom. Normally hautakuwa ukifanya hizi vitu expensive. Sisi tunavaaga tu vitu simple. Ukiwa na dem unaanza kupiga designer. So imagine sasa hauna hiyo pressure ya gender role. Hauna hata pressure kwenda kukula in this expensive places kwa sababu it's just food. Lakini juu kuna dem unataka kwenda uimpress huko hivyo. Itakuwa mbaya.
What would a genuinely role-neutral society look like for men and women?
It would mean that you could do anything as a career that you would want to do, and it would like men just staying home, more men staying home than women to take care of kids.
Do people still prefer traditional male behavior even while saying roles shouldn't matter?
Yes, people do prefer traditional male behavior because that's what you're used to seeing when you're growing up.
No, because it's beneficial to everyone. It's beneficial. That's why.
Is there a difference between what we say we believe and what we reward in practice?
Yep.
Yes, there is a difference in what we say we believe. A lot of people believe in freedom in a relationship, but at the same time, they want someone to be a traditional male or traditional woman in a relationship.
Do you personally support men having the same freedom to redefine themselves that women have gained?
Yes, absolutely, but not my husband.
Why not?
No, my husband needs to work.
1 second. Niko kazi unapiga simu.
What's one expectation on men you think should change and one that maybe shouldn't?
I think one expectation of men that should change is that they should always be the ones to pay for things and like take control of the house. I think that women can also, you know, treat their man, because I'm in a lesbian relationship, so we like to treat each other, you know. One that I think shouldn't change is a woman, like a woman just like getting things done for her husband sometimes. Like, I understand, like, you want to come home to a clean house, the dishes done, dinner, things
Mbona imeanza kuhang.
like that.
And lastly, if the rules were rewritten from scratch today, what would be the fairest standard for everyone?
Everyone chips in 50-50.
Both men and women can both work, and they don't, it's not like one has to work and one has to clean the house.
Yep.
So you would basically say that gender roles should kind of just disappear for everyone, you think?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you think that most women would find that attractive, though?
No.
Because it benefits them. Hello. Because ina benefit. Na kitu ina benefit madem hawezi taka kuacha. Hawezi taka kuacha. Tangoja milele. Ati. Yeah. Which other video do I want to show you? Which other video?
Or women?
So
who do you think are the biggest enforcers of gender roles, men or women?
men, because they're more dominant.
Yeah, but who typically pays on a first date?
Men.
Who's typically expected to approach?
Men.
Men.
Who typically buys the drinks at nightclubs?
Men.
Who typically gets down on one knee?
Men.
Men.
Isn't that all traditional male behavior?
Yes.
I think a girl loves it, and a girl loves to be chased.
Once again, who are the biggest enforcers of gender roles, men or women?
It's a good question because women expect it when men don't want to do it all the time, but men get the benefit of going out of their way to do their gender roles.
So would you say that women are the biggest enforcers of gender roles? Would you agree with that?
Yes.
No.
You said women expect it though, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, does a man necessarily have to expect a woman to do traditional things to be with him? Or
Oh, nowadays, no. Women don't want to cook, clean, provide for the family. It's definitely different. 2026.
So once again, how are women not the biggest enforcers of gender roles?
I don't think they're subtle enforcers. Like, it's expected.
Well, right, but you're saying that women expect men to be in their roles, but women don't want to be in their roles. So to me, that
Which is
sounds
sad.
like it is sad, but my point is, it sounds like women are enforcing gender roles more than men are. Is that true?
True.
I guess that makes sense, yeah.
So if women are the biggest enforcers of gender roles, how are women not the biggest enforcers of patriarchy?
Yep.
The very thing they demonize men for.
I don't know. I'm in a healthy relationship, so I can't really speak on that.
Your healthy relationship unajua ni amekaa na simpanzi. Tusikia tu healthy relationship, it's easier for her to cheat. Akona simp anzi. Ananipata. Now, this is the point I want to open the floor. But I feel like there's another video I wanted to watch. I just forgotten the name of it. Ilikuwa inaitwa nini? Acha nisome chats. Let me read the chats leo. Acha nikwe celeb. Let me read the chats. Nijue nani wako hapa hivi ndani. Arsenal Pulse 254 anasema a man can't win if you don't chase, they label you as a gay incel. If you chase them, you are creepy and insecure. Yeah, true. You can never win because they have these two names na two rules that could distract. Women have double standard. That's why ikifika could play their part in trying to do something for men, they instantly switch and start saying back in the day men used to be men. Exactly. Men used to go to war. Men used to do this. Ishmael anasema, remember the biggest leading sims in the world are the super rich guys. They hide under the word if you have it ain't tricking, which is just incognito sims. Yeah, true. Some of the biggest sims wanakuanga watu wadosi. Hii ndio maana unapata mtu ako NBA but anaoa stripper. Mtu ako NBA superstar performing but ashinanga amedinya ma stripper. Wadhani ugonjwa unatoka wapi? Kiga anasema woza Zodorhe hiji nanitoaga. Anaambia watu msisahau ku like the video. Sharks anasema rules for thee but not for me. Inakuanga hivyo anakuambia hizi scene zinakuanga hiyo design. Wewe uta No. Mega capital letter. Kuna podcast fulani acha nitaenda nitafute sai. They are the problem. Napenda show za umse sana. Lungs of Faith. Napenda tu nini zake. Nini zake zinanifurahishanga. So nataka kutafuta video yake fulani hapa hivi. Siyo. Blech. Siyo. Chi na wekea. Najua hata muoni kitu naona. Ndio hiyo. I wanted to show you hapa ni what happened to Christian women. Because today I was thinking about squeezy madem wanajiita wa Kristo. Madem wanajikwalo wa Kristo, hawana Ukristo ndani yao. Kina Mariona Ipei. Ama dem unaona mtu ameweka First Ecclesiastes kwa bio yake ya Instagram, kwa bio yake ya Facebook, but the whole post ukiingia Instagram yake yote ni matako. Yani matako, yani nguo ni 15%. But ukienda useme wewe si unafaa kuna live the way Christ anataka, wando wa kwanza kukwambia do not judge thee. Siku hizi tumejama demu wa Kristo kama for example demu ya Pascal Tokodi. Hata umenikumbusha ndugu yangu, acha niwapeleke hapo kwanza alafu turudi hapa. Minute na hands ndio. Minute iko slow. Dori. Ewira waka. Diga. Obare. Aretwe diga obare. Diga obare. Sad. Kenya leaders feast or pray at Kenya's moon. Yeah, so uliona hiyo kitu. Alienda kuomba na kukula. Na unajua State House ukiendaga na chakula na kwanga pale wezani nayo. Hizo maombi za umbwak ni hizo. Za kucheza na do. Oh, this is the acha nionyeshe huyu hapa.
Is losing yourself, losing what I went through, a relationship, a marriage, and to some extent looking back and say, this is not where I thought I would be at this point.
Celebrity breakups and relationships always bring drama online. The moment people notice sadness, tears, or emotional posts, social media detectives immediately wake up. And of late, all eyes have been on Grace Ekirapa and Pascal Tokodi. Now, Grace Ekirapa, for those who may not know, is Pascal Tokodi's ex-wife, and they separated back in 2023. Recently, Grace Ekirapa opened up in one of her Safe Perspective videos, and let's just say it was emotional. You could feel and hear the pain in her voice.
Aya, hiyo video, nataka mjue, alitoa hiyo video after rumors started spreading that Pascal Tokodi has a new girlfriend. Pascal Tokodi move on. But guess what she did? After two Pascal announced move on. Ha, bada bing vu, bigger bing ving. Like the perfect timing. Anafanya video kuexplain watu ile machungu alikuwa anapitia akiwa kwa ndoa. Kwa sababu attention imetoka kwake, spotlight imetoka kwake, inaenda kwa ex-husband na watakangi hiyo. Mwenye wivu.
You know, again, I was the last person to get married in my family, the first one to get out.
I wonder why.
And that in itself was the greatest loss I had ever encountered.
In the video, Grace talked about a type of grief, a type of loss many people never speak about, the grief of losing a relationship or a marriage. She shared that she was the last person in her family to get married, but sadly, also the first one whose marriage ended. And that
she ended the marriage because Pascal allegedly alikuwa anampatia ile lifestyle alikuwa anataka kuishi. Unachikile lifestyle ya Instagram. Yenye mademu wote get married thinking they're gonna live that honeymoon phase. Yenye kila saa ni lifestyle, designer bags, designer clothes, vacation, your own TV show. Ako anapatiwa lifestyle. And mind you, she's saved and she's a Christian. Na alikuwa anafanya hadi show na DJ Mo. Ndio maana nataka kuwaonyesha video next what happened to Christian women. Kwa sababu the Bible says till death do us part. Amfai kudivorce. Pascal alikuwa anapiga udem. Pascal alikuwa anatusi udem. But because ako anapatia ile lifestyle alikuwa anataka kuishi, na unakumbuka wasi wako zile za kama mimi naweza jipatie lifestyle, mbona niteseke na mwanaume na mimi naweza hello,
really broke her. According to her, it made her feel like a loser, like life had embarrassed her publicly.
I was the last person to get married in my family, the first one to get out, and that in itself was the greatest loss I had ever encountered.
She explained how lost she felt once the marriage ended, explaining that she had built herself around this person she wanted to be, but that identity was gone with the ending of the marriage. However, despite the pain, she also spoke about healing, saying that she slowly realized her life was not over.
Okay, umsana tuelezea kitu tungia kitu, acha tusikize, mbona anashinda kituelezea. Oh, audience yake inakuwaga ya madem vichwa ngumu. Haya, we go.
I know I've hinted at this, but I don't think I've ever officially told you guys that I'm a born-again virgin. Like, I tried my darndest to wait. That got taken from me. So I literally just went and slept with 3 different guys within that 2-day time period. I'm waiting until marriage again.
If you've been wondering what the heck happened to Christian women, you're not alone, and the data proves you right. The bar for what defines a Christian woman has never been low. Men are endlessly corrected and held to lofty standards, but if you're a woman, you can essentially get away with anything so long as you have a Bible verse in your bio. Yet, more and more traditional Christians are being painted as misogynists and radical extremists. But why is this happening? In this video, we're going to follow the data, the incentives, the institutions, and the history to figure out how feminism infiltrated the Christian world, why intelligence agencies supported this, and what we can do about it before true Christianity becomes unrecognizable. Because one thing is certain, this is a crisis, and this is by far the most important video I've ever made on this channel. This...
That was an introduction. That's an introduction, bro. Multiple scenes. Like sijatoa macho zangu hapo hivyo. Now you'll understand. Mbona ule dem mwingine alikuwa lesbian her whole life. Nimesema hata jina yake alikuja kago irrelevant. Her whole life alikuwa lesbian. Akafika 42 all of a sudden amegeuka amekuwa born again Christian. Alikuwa nani ule mdem? Nani anajua influencer mdem? Now we understand. Mbona watu wengi wakishamaliza so called raha za dunia wanaendanga kwa church.
Is why I bring to you the downfall of Christian women. I'll say the quiet part that nobody wants to admit. While all of society, including men, are in dire straits, according to the data, the ideological shift is overwhelmingly on the female side, not the male side.
We know what the fundamental duties are of men, but no one wants to define what that is for women. Young men are checking out, they're not getting married, and that's not good for our country, that's not good for our birth rate, that's not good for our society.
But the reason for that is not what you think. Here's where it gets interesting and honestly a little bit strange, because the popular narrative says that Christianity is being radicalized and Christian men are all right-wing extremists. But there's a catch-22 that I'm about to expose to you. The story you always hear is that online figures are radicalizing young men, turning them into misogynists, and that traditional values are oppressive and toxic. The reality is that much of what passes today as Christianity is simply feminized, and that's why any sort of criticism gets instantly labeled as toxic or
Exactly. Julizeni mbona the other day mama mzima PCA, sijui ni PCA leader, ataki watu wapeane speech. Katikati ya speech mama anaamka anaenda anachukua microphone ati make sure hii speech ni fupi. Let us wrap this thing up. Julize mbona siku hizi mavijana wanapendi kwenda church. Ni mademo wanaenda church sana. Cause wameifeminize my guy. Wameifeminize my G. Nyi mkienda church mnakuwa lectured. Be better man. Do better. But mademo hawambiwi shit. Na kumbukeni. Mnajua kuna mdema anaweza na kitu aseme, lakini Big Bad nikaa unaonea madem sana. Sionei madem. Kitu nataka kuambia na tuelewane vizuri. Women run men. Men run society, women run men. Na kitu yote yenye inahusu madem na wanaume wengi tunataka madem, tunataka familia na madem, tunataka society run through madem. It's easier for us to follow the rules madem wakituwekea. Niliwaambia tu kweli. Wanaume wengi wanakuanga mabad boy. Juu madem wanaanza kureward mabad boy. That's a fact. Sawa? So, if you can control the women, you can control the men. Si ati hapa naonea. Kama unaweza control mademu, unaweza control wanaume. Easily. Hata si brainer. But some of us ni kama tuja understand kitu. Sawa?
Charitable. This is one of the biggest problems in Protestant churches is that there's lots and lots of women who want to leverage their faith to buy a new reputation. They will move into kind of weaker churches where they can keep the progressive attitudes. And what they're really looking for is not being judged. I don't want to be judged. I don't want to be judged. I don't want to be judged.
And I don't deal well with judgment. I'm a very rebellious person when it comes up to judgment.
And so a religion that is about
judgment. What the? Julize hata siku social media kwaje. Uwezi sema kitu against madem, watasema una judge.
Repentance and high standards gets turned into a virtue signaling competition on who can be the least critical. The historical data is beyond obvious. Christian teaching on women was clear, structured, and unapologetic. It emphasized modesty, distinct roles within the family, and a visible separation from the moral assumptions of the surrounding cultures. Now compare that to the present. Today, it's increasingly common to find self-identified Christian women who affirm abortion, support Skittles relationships, and adopt modern views on gender and sexuality. And this isn't anecdotal. According to Pew Research, among Christians aged 18 to 29, 61% of women say abortion should be legal. They are around twice as likely to say Skittles behavior should be accepted. And on Transformers issues, the gap is even wider. The truth that nobody talks about is that none of this is some random accident of chance or the natural progression of life. But over the last 60 years, there's been a deliberate plan to capture and subvert Christian institutions that hold even remotely traditional views. So if the narrative is that online Christian men are being radicalized, why does the paper trail and the data say the opposite? Well, there's only one reason, and that's because there is an agenda. And if they didn't want us to know that, they wouldn't be telling us to our faces. The Luce Foundation, which I'll get to more on in a bit, funded Columbia University's Center for Democracy, Toleration, and Religion, a progressive initiative explicitly aimed at injecting Skittles ideology, feminism, and progressive values into traditional Christian institutions through clergy
Ndio hiyo, shetani ashaingia hapo ndani through pesa.
And scholarships to make it more quote-unquote tolerant and compliant with modern secularism.
33 years in ministry, he is now officially ordained and says he's the first openly gay pastor in the Presbyterian Church in Greater Columbus.
Imagine, pastor wako anatombwa duba.
It's okay to be who you are, and it's to be inclusive, and it's to be loving, and it's to be missional.
There's many NGOs and private corporate donors, in fact, who allocate large portions of their budget towards the infiltration of various churches around the country. Especially you've seen mega churches, right? Protestant mega churches.
Fordham University, ran by the Jesuits, hosted the 2023 Outreach LGBTQ Ministry Conference, where panels promoted the idea of female and Skittles clergy, reinterpreting the Bible to co-sign Skittles activities and how the church should better affirm Skittles Catholics.
So I'll
Ndio hiyo. Na tunaelekea hapo.
explain how this is done. They call it clergy training, right? So what they'll do is they'll come in and say, hey, look, we want to train your clergy for the problems of modernity. You know, we'll have professional psychologists come in, they'll assist with the training and this and that. And what it actually does is it erodes the system over time.
So-called theologians like Natalia Imperatori Lee publicly celebrate young women's passions for quote-unquote women's equality in the church and praise activism that confronts male-led hierarchies.
Feminist theologians use a methodology that involves deconstructing problematic issues, searching the tradition for alternatives, and reconstructing those in a liberative key, utilizing the social sciences and other disciplines, and then building back up.
These are the same people and the same foundations that are receiving millions and millions of dollars from institutional hierarchies.
Lots of things in the tradition that we have to say, you know, it's not good news, and we have to find a coherent way. I mean, I think that's a theme in all of my.
Nasikia tu nimeudhika nikiona sura ya mademu wawili huyu. Hata nasikia tu nimeboeka tu nikiwaangalia. Once wademu waliingia church, kwisha. Tukakuwa pia sisi na umama, wanaume, tukaanza umama kwa kanisa, kwisha. Because now you cannot speak against their feelings. Wana prioritize feelings kwa church. Not the truth, but feelings na emotions.
Forces, the church just changed. That's okay, because it's the trads, they both share a pure version of Catholicism that I don't think is tenable long term. We have to have that complicated view. I don't see another way out of that. And feminism is just one way.
That's good for women to have the right to vote, the right to work. I think that Catholics and Christians can take some kind of form of feminism that seeks that equality, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And if you think this is something recent, this is nothing new. And we'll get to that, but the fact is these videos take weeks to produce each, and I'm currently a one-man team, but luckily the supporters over at buymeacoffee.com.
Hata mimi manze, by the way mnafaa kunisupport sahi, now that YouTube iliamua kuninyanyasa wachukue pesa yangu. Ningeomba tu support yenu tafadhali. Wale wanaweza tuma kwa namba tafadhali, naomba munisupport hapo hivyo. Help me keep this stream running. Help me keep this movement iendelee. Ndashukuru sana.
Funded by the Rockefellers in the 1960s. Back to the plot. Take Elizabeth Stanton, a leading feminist funded by the Rockefellers in the 19th century, expressed the desire to quote-unquote move beyond traditional Christianity into something different. Stanton assembled a revising committee to, according to her, correct biblical interpretation, viewed as biased against women, coming up with their own version called the Women's Bible, where the foreword explicitly discusses how Christianity is too powerful of a structure and they can't get rid of it, so instead, they will have to change it from within. In the foreword, she literally says, quote-unquote, the Bible and the church have been the greatest stumbling blocks in the way of women's emancipation. Sarah Bessey, another so-called Christian feminist and author of Jesus Feminist, explicitly states that, quote-unquote, patriarchy is not God's dream for humanity. So the stated goal is obviously not to try to get rid of traditional Christians. It's simply to divide it enough to where they won't be a threat to national security and global interests. Now, if you don't believe that any of this is real and this is all just a conspiracy, well, we don't have to look far to see the effects of this pop Christianity everywhere. Just look at two of the most popular so-called Christian female influencers promoting modest clothing under 3 Nails clothing to millions of followers.
We are always looking for pieces that feel like us, something we can move in, feel confident in, and still reflect our values. That's why we've been loving the new collection from 3 Nails. It's activewear that's modest, comfortable, and made for real movement. Whether it's a morning workout or just showing up with intention, these pieces were built to support you in it. 3 Nails is all about faith-forward living, and this collection speaks.
Unaona, sijui kama na notice hizo ma thirst traps. Nani Christian women, bro?
to all who carry strength with softness and purpose in everything they do. Check out the new drop from 3 Nails.
Even the comments raise their eyebrows. This looks like any other gym clothing. Seems like a comedy skit. One points out the seriousness of invoking Christ's crucifixion so casually. Now the problem goes much deeper, and the crazy part is that the title Girls Gone Bible literally directly borrows from pornography culture, applying it to scripture. Like, how does anyone think that this is appropriate?
Following the Lord, like following God, is not easy. It's not easy. It's countercultural.
So we have a lot of very modest pieces. You know, even the swimwear that we have is very modest.
What is holy is repackaged for attention. Christianity becomes internal, claiming to be about the heart, while the outward life stays worldly and is separated.
And we always say, come as you are, just don't stay that way. Let Jesus invade your life and change everything.
But Christ warns, by their fruit you shall know them, and that our heart is not
By their fruits you shall know them. Kaka nyari, fruit zake. Hakuna fruits pale.
separate from the rest of our body.
Because you see a trend, and a lot of men who have been traditional their whole lives and have now worked and achieved some degree of success, they say, yeah, but how do I know that the women who are closer to my age, who now say that they want to be a stay-at-home wife or a mom, or they want a more traditional relationship, when they lived their whole life progressively in a feminist way, how do I know that they're being genuine? And so a lot of guys aren't willing to take that risk, and they're checking out.
We see the same pattern online with two sides of the same coin. On one, you have modern hoe culture trying to rebrand itself as Christianity, and on the other hand, you have performative trad wives.
And as a woman, I want a strong man who is a protector and a provider that will go to war if need be, that will protect me, protect my family, make money. I see that as being actually masculine. That's like the man that I grew up with, my dad. But what we're seeing now is these young men who look at Andrew Tate and the Tate brothers. They're like, oh, great, that's a manly man.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just more feminist nonsense, ultimately. And the covert feminism in society is big, especially on the conservative side. So here's what happens, right? Women need to have feminine virtues for men to be pursuing masculine virtues, for you to say things like, what I want is for men to protect me and I want men to make money. Well, that's great. What that ends up doing is it gives you a set of privilege in society. What do men get? What do men get for doing that for you? What are we getting from women for doing that? Are we getting chaste virgins on our wedding night? No, we're not getting chaste virgins on our wedding night. Are we getting women of great virtue? No, we're not getting women of great virtue. The idea of courtly love is supposed to be done for women of great virtue. Where are they? Well, they're nowhere. When female conservative influencers say this, it's actually a form of covert feminism. They're saying, I want privilege in society, but what is it women are giving to men to get it? What?
These so-called traditional conservative Christian women come out on television.
Ndio naambia ile story ya gender roles. Hata kama vitu zote zina combine. Ndio the next time mtu anakuambia ati you are a slave owner. Ati the man is akiwa na relationship that your dem ni slave. Nataka tu angalie mtu kwa macho, jiulize mtu kichwa yake ni mzuri. Are you in your right mind? Chana wafungue macho leo.
In a face full of makeup and demand traditional values from a man, while wanting to keep modern values for themselves whenever it feels convenient. And if you want to see how outsiders of Christianity see this type of apparent hypocrisy, look no further.
When you sit here and you go, you'll be more fulfilled doing this and spend all your time doing that, we would love for you to leave the public eye and go focus on what makes you fulfilled. Okay.
Even figures that brand themselves as traditional end up rewriting history, like Lila Rose, who claims that stay-at-home motherhood is modern.
A man is provider, woman is a stay-at-home mom. That's a modern idea. That is not a traditional idea, my friends.
While simultaneously getting involved in scandals regarding sexualizing Catholic priests on her podcast.
Father Mike Schmitz. I showed him to a girlfriend who's not Catholic, and she's like, when's Mass?
But even the very people who are supposed to be on our team as so-called conservative further platform and amplify this trend. Take the quintessential example of Nala Ray. And only
walikuwa na ngwati ziko wanaitwa na la Ray. Ando sasa so-called yani wando sasa the front runners wa Christian women. Christian women wana look up to madem kama walikuwa former mapoko, sasa wanajifanya wameokoka. All for the bag. Na madem wana look up to wa madem. Lost generation.
fans model who claims she converted to Christianity while still promoting immodest content and selling online courses criticized as theologically heretical. When called out by Orthodox Christians online, she went into defense mode, accusing everybody critical of her of being pharisaical.
If it was the case, really, that they were converting because they had made a mess of their life and they were sorry about it, you'd never hear from them again. Or you would hear one last thing. You would just hear I'm really sorry. And in humility and repentance, I'm going to go take some time with the church and my church to get my together. And maybe they come back in 5 years, great. And then you get the welcome, but you don't go, well, I went and got baptized at heresychurch.com, right? And now I'm going to tell you how to be the right kind of Christian.
Now, compare this to parallel examples we have of Orthodox female saints who were also once former prostitutes, like Mary of Egypt, where after her reversion, she did decades of fasting, isolation in the desert, radical transformation.
Yeah.
Only then was she recognized for her holiness. And the point isn't that everybody's called to such extreme ascetic struggles, but the difference is black on white. While the church always welcomes sinners, that doesn't mean that they get an instant platform, instant authority, instant influence. For many young women, these examples become their spiritual formation, not the church fathers, not the saints, and not liturgy. The real question is, how did these ideas spread so effectively, even within Christianity itself?
Umeona point hapo hivyo amesema ati ama so-called influencer ati just because mtu ameokoka leo, kesho ako na authority, anaweza anza kuongea kwa church, anaweza anza kuaddress watu, anaweza kufanya vitu kama hizo. Doesn't it remind you of something very familiar? Inakukumbusha kitu imefanyika a few months ago where Marion alitokea that amekuwa exposed, and the next thing you see amepelekwa kwa church ya Kanyari, hajafanya anything. She has not done any theological work, she has not done any church work, hajakuwa na certificate yoyote ya kuonesha she's qualified. But the next thing you want, ati anapaka watu anointing oil, anaenda na lead worship, anaenda hadi anasomea watu Bible pale mbele, hadi ana lecture watu venye maisha yao haiko poa. But Kanyari is a joker church. Added to the point, analeta lesbians and alcoholics waimbe pale hivyo mbele ya church. Na yet the Bible yenyewe inasemanga ukichange, umechange your ways, hiyo iko in your past. Go, you are not healed. Go now, you are now healed. The past is gone, the new you has come. Hizo vitu zako ulikuwa unafanya huko mwisho zimeisha. Watu wangapi unajua unafanya kitu church? Haya, president wetu mwenye sana kwa anajichocha venye ameokoka. Si alikuwa anatupima venye yeye ni mtu Mkristo. Kumbe alikuwa anatumia Ukristo yake kutingiza box, akatingiza box, alafu after hapo nini kafanyika? Amegeuka. Amegeuza inchi upside down. But point yangu ni church imekuwa infiltrated na madevo wengi sana. But ataka ujue all this is a plan. It's like a plan for the bigger plot ya niyo ni kuingiza ushetani. Sasa utapata point imefika watu wengi wataki kuamini story ya church. Na watu wengi sasa zingine kwamba wame combine church na God. Yaani wana assume vitu godly ni inaonyesha kwenda kanisa. Sasa kama watu wa kanisa wanafanya vitu mbaya, mimi sitafanya vitu godly. Sijui kina make sense. Au utaanza kuomba ukiamini, utaacha na stories za kuomba kwa sababu waombaji wanafanya vitu tricks. Wakaleta Prophet War, even though zake ni za psychology, lakini si za easy modern. At least huko hivyo watu wana dress modestly. Unanipata? Hii church ya sijui ni Kathikiuna, unaona vitu walikuwa wanafanyanga hizo ninaja. Nani nakwambia kitu ni ngori. Yani imagine poko ulikuwa unanyonga na video zake, next thing ameokoka na kuja kwa ubudia pale mbele ya church. Na hata hajamaliza hata mwezi na the world is in trouble.
The Easter Bonnet Rebellion. One of the most blatant public attacks on traditional Christian practice came in 1969 with the Easter Bonnet Rebellion. You'll see why this came about in a second, but before we get into this insane example of subversion, a word from this video's sponsor. If we're serious women organized a coordinated protest called the National Unveiling. They urged women across America to enter churches without head coverings and to attempt to receive communion from their priest, deliberately defying canon law and the long-standing Christian practice rooted in 1 Corinthians 11, where women veiled as a sign of submission, modesty, and order. Feminists wore flashy Easter bonnets as a symbol of rebellion, then removed them inside churches to protest what they called a quote-unquote outmoded and discriminatory rule. They framed head coverings as oppressive patriarchy rather than biblical obedience. This wasn't spontaneous though. The feminist movement, heavily supported by elite funding including Rockefeller-linked networks and progressive foundations, turned a visible symbol of Christian gender order into a target. Churches largely folded, and within a few years, the practice of women veiling in worship largely disappeared from mainstream Catholicism and Protestantism, and was obscured from Catholic canon law. But it most importantly illustrated something much darker, that none of this was grassroots.
Umesikia hiyo? Hiyo ni 1969. Mafeminist walikuwa wameanza demonstration against the church. Nyavo sasa unadhani kuna mtu atakuja kukuambia ati sijui ni third wave feminism. Hakuna third wave. It's always been like that. Anything yenye ilikuwa inaestablishwa naume, na mind you ni church, na mambo tu funikeni kichwa yenyu kwa church, mkiwa kwa church. Na hii ni katho. Jifunikeni mkiwa kwa church. Church service inakuanga 2 hours maximum. So you cannot cover yourself for 2 hours. Mnaenda kurebel against that. Mkiita patriarchy and the church folded. Na mind you, yo feminism ilikuwa funded na Rockefeller. Manzi nakwambia Rockefeller iko na influence ingine kwa hii dunia saa hii yenye tunaongelea. Huwezi amini. Hata usishtuke Rockefeller ndio imefund kitu ya Ebola ikuje kuletwa Kenya. Usishtuke ni Rockefeller wanataka kusponsor vitu mingi sana. Anything degenerate unaweza imagine, nakwambia ni Rockefeller wali sponsor. Anything unaweza fikiria. Uhomo Rockefeller ndio ilileta. Sexual revolution Rockefeller ndio walikuwa na sponsor. Wanawekeza vitu kwa gazeti na wanawekeza vitu kwa TV. Sasa wanaweka social media na wana push kwa algorithm hiyo kitu iende. Upende usipende, mdemo wako atakuona hizo vitu anze kuamini hizo ujinga. I saw a bishop juzi hapa church. Kuna mdemo alikuwa amevaa sijui nguo inaenda hivi. Anaenda kupokea. Father akamwambia hapana, toka uende. Hiyo video sijui kama umeona. Dema alikuwa anaenda kupokea. Amevaa sijui aje, bishop akamwambia hapana. Because they do not have respect for the church. But this is what they've been seeing their whole life. Wanaonanga tu watu wanavaa venye wanavaa, wanaenda church, wana meza sakramenti nini. Hawajiheshimu. Kwa sababu church haina heshima siku hizi. Ni mapoko ameja pale na masimp na weak men wameja pale ndani. Unadhani kutakuwa na authority yote kwa church? Hakuna. Church inafaa kuwa na criticize government ndio wako in bed na the government. Au wana spread hizo message ya government. Do you think watu wanaheshimu church bro? Hakuna.
Here's where all of this gets interesting and much more clear, because this didn't happen by accident. Christianity didn't drift into progressivism overnight. It was steered there through deliberate incentives, elite social engineering, and lots of money throughout the 20th century. Now, before we get to that, we need to understand something called ecumenism. There are generally understood to be two types. Real historical ecumenism, which means actual dialogue without sacrificing, changing, or watering down the core truths of the Orthodox faith. And the goal in that is unity in truth, not unity at any cost. And 2, geopolitical ecumenism. It uses the nice sounding word unity as a tool to control and change the churches, tossing truth and doctrine out the window for nice sounding unity. And it stops sounding so nice once we look into where exactly it originated. Here's how it actually works. Step 1. They create big organizations, like the World Council of Churches, that bring lots of different churches together under one roof. Step 2. They offer money, prestige, and influence. Seminaries, pastors, and leaders who go along with the program get grants, fancy professorships, media attention, and powerful friends. Step 3. They shift the main goal. Instead of quote-unquote stay faithful to historic Christianity, the new goal becomes visible unity, social justice, climate change, inclusivity, breaking down barriers, progressive agendas, and serving the world. Step 4. They slowly pressure everyone to compromise by tightening the screws. So how did this mechanism actually play out in history?
Riverside. It's 10th of September 1930, and then biggest bell in America starts journey to Laura Spelman Rockefeller Carillon, atop picturesque Riverside Memorial Church above the Hudson on Manhattan Island.
The Rockefellers poured millions of dollars into the World Council of Churches, the National Council of Churches, Union Theological Seminary, and Riverside Cathedral, among many other different institutions, to birth a new, soft, social gospel, new Christianity that prioritized global unity, interfaith dialogue, globalist agendas, and left-leaning causes over hard doctrine and world rejection. The amount of funding for this stuff from big institutions will blow your mind. Arcus Foundation, based out of New York and Cambridge, has poured millions into Skittles religious inclusion, faith leader training, and countering conservative religious narratives, often advancing acceptance efforts inside Christianity. $3 million to Kalamazoo College, Michigan, for its faith-linked social justice center, $15 million towards global transgender advocacy, and $120,000 to Religion News Service, a U.S. media influencing and religious reporting institution. Then you have the Ford Foundation, a massive global grant maker with $732 million in annual giving in 2023, and $768 million total grants across 2,288 grants in 2024, channeling significant resources into so-called gender justice, reproductive rights, and progressive Christian organizing. In 2024, they gave $94.3 million US plus $36.3 million towards gender justice initiatives, many intersecting with faith leaders on so-called reproductive rights. Then you have Open Society Foundations, having spent $24.2 billion globally since 1993 with $436 million in annual expenditures in 2023. It funds Skittles advocacy intersecting with faith communities and progressive religious actors, directs millions of dollars into women of color-led and faith-rooted reproductive justice activism, including $5 million to 84 so-called grassroots groups in a recent cycle, the Global Fund for Women. Since 1987, it has moved nearly $250 million in grants to over 5,000 so-called grassroots feminist organizations, including 1,384 grants totaling support for sexual and so-called reproductive health rights to 832 groups. It has seeded women's funds globally, around $8.3 million to 35 funds, intersecting heavily with faith centers. Now, I could literally go on for hours and hours listing all of them, but the key takeaway is this: hundreds of millions of dollars flowing into efforts that promote progressive reinterpretations of Christianity and traditional faiths through inclusion, reproductive justice, and gender equity programming. And some people still have the gall to say that there's no such thing as a global elite network trying to subvert traditional Christianity. The WCC was explicitly designed as an ecumenist globalist project. Its own constitution calls churches to pursue, quote, visible unity in one faith and one Eucharistic fellowship through witness and service to the world. Convenient, isn't it? Meanwhile, the billionaire Henry Luce, Skull and Bones member, Yale class of 1920, founder of Time and Life magazines, and the man who literally coined the phrase the American century in his famous 1941 Life editorial piece, used his Luce Foundation to systematically flood seminaries and universities with progressive theology, including feminism. Evangelical Protestant institutions were particularly of interest because they were highly organized, influential, and relatively less tied to entrenched hierarchies, making them the easiest asset to shape. In that 1941 manifesto, Luce declared that the 20th century must be to a significant degree an American century. He meant a century in which American progressive democratic internationalism would shape the world, including its religious landscape. We see this illustrated in all of the wars and all of the politics that the US decided to get itself involved with in the late 20th century. The Foundation's own programs made this concrete. The Henry R. Luce Professorship Program is the most notable, which launched in 1968, and it installed 71 professorships at 56 universities across the United States. These endowed chairs were explicitly created to, quote-unquote, encourage academic experimentation and creativity, and to support, quote-unquote, innovative interdisciplinary teaching and learning. In practice, rewarding scholars who advanced religious pluralism, democratic internationalism, and a more adaptive, less dogmatic faith, particularly within evangelical seminaries and Protestant schools. They didn't stop at individual chairs. The Foundation also ran the Henry Luce III Fellows in Theology program from 1993 to 2018, which funded 160 faculty members in theological schools for research that strengthened, quote-unquote, the links among theological research, churches, and wider public. Even more targeted, the Luce Foundation gave a major grant to Columbia University to establish the Center for the Study of Democracy, Toleration, and Religion, CDTR. Founded in 2006 through the Henry R. Luce Initiative on Religion and International Affairs, the center's stated mission is to conduct research and training on, quote, the interfaces of and tensions between religion, toleration, and democracy in the world. In plain English, it exists to examine how traditional religions, especially flexible Protestant denominations, can be made more compatible with modern democratic pluralism and toleration, providing a mechanism for wedging progressive values, including feminist and egalitarian interpretations of scripture and authority, into historic faiths. Specifically, the traditional faiths, the ones that they see as the biggest threat to the progressive agenda, which would be Orthodoxy, traditional Catholicism, some forms of Protestantism, Islam, things like this. The official Luce Foundation description of its religion and theology program today, quote, we seek to deepen public knowledge of religion and to draw on the wisdom of faith traditions to advance a shared understanding. This goes hand in hand with the same networks and founders as the ones who founded the Abrahamic Faith Center, which is the one that has a Catholic church next to an Islamic mosque, next to, I believe, a synagogue, if I'm not mistaken. These people do not care about your personal beliefs. That's one thing I want to get across here. They do not care what God you believe in or what you worship or what values you hold dear. These people are primarily atheists. For the most part, they...
Kweli, atheism imeingia kwa church ile serious. Imagine, hiyo ni so called, hata tujui tuite nini. Tutaita mosque, tutaita synagogue, tutaita church. This is too much.
They just see this as a tool for control. So next time you get labeled as a conspiracy theorist for saying that something has changed with the Christian women, you can send them this video because anyone with a brain cell can see clearly this was not neutral scholarship. It was strategic placement of hand-picked academics who would reward and amplify the very ideas that softened hard doctrine, elevated pluralism over exclusivity, and aligned Christianity, particularly evangelical Protestantism, with the American century vision of a democratic internationalism.
Of course, CIA iko involved na history. Of course, wangekosa, wakose aje.
And the CIA was heavily involved in the game. Declassified documents from the Cold War era doctrinal warfare program detailed in David Wim Hof's research reveal a coordinated effort involving the State Department, Defense Department, Henry Luce's media empire, and CIA operatives. Their mission was to infiltrate universities, newspapers, and theological circles to influence doctrine. They pushed Americanism into Protestant churches and beyond using psychological operations, conferences, and funding to reshape morality and theology. A CIA quote from David Wim Hof's book noting the doctrinal warfare program, C.D. Jackson's program together with Henry Luce Foundation, quote, "The Department of State was responsible for increasing doctrinal materials in the voice of America's broadcasts, particularly for publicizing and promoting interests of doctrinal and theological matters." Quote, "The Department of State was responsible for increasing doctrinal materials in Voice of America broadcasts, particularly for publicizing and promoting interests of doctrinal and theological matters. The Department of Defenses during the Cold War was responsible for providing officers and enlisted personnel in service schools and units with a doctrinal and theological background. Speeches, technical magazines, and others would be involved in this corporate doctrinal aspect. The CIA's responsibility was set forth in an annex called Annex B, a top-secret document that was later declassified in 2013. The CIA stated, quote, "Infiltrate individuals into foreign associations with theological potential, doctrinal potential, including newspapers, universities, etc., to influence their output. When appropriate, stimulate through non-attributable means, conferences and means of public forums, matters of doctrinal issue, academic forums, academic gatherings, conferences, interfere with promotion and distribution of hostile doctrinal theology that is hostile to the agenda of Americanism." That's why now when you look around you at the evangelical landscape, you primarily see feminism, Zionism, the prosperity gospel, and things like this. A mere hollow shell of what Christianity truly is. So,
which makes you think, sisi watu tunajichochanga na story ya church. Tunaenga church kweli ama inaona tu kujichocha. Because you see it. Like, that's why they planning it. You know, kitu moja nakwambiaga, you gotta question so many things. You gotta question so many things. Easy akilia watu wanajichochaga nazo. Before tu una argue na mtu kwa mneti, yeye anakuambia abortion ni poa. Unafaa ujiulize, hii mindset alitoa wapi? Ni hawa watu umeona wakubwa hizo siku. Those billionaires, they funded those so-called fake. Inaitwaje? Fake medication, hizo medical reports, wakalipa watu wa gazeti, wakalipa watu wa magazine, wakalipa watu wa TV, wakalipa actors, wakuambie kitu unataka kusikia. Kumbe wao wanajua ni nini wanataka at the end of the day. Unanipata? Prosperity gospel. Mbaya. Mali, hata ujui difference ya motivational speech ile unasikiaga kwa YouTube na preaching. Mtu asemi jina Jesus, asemi jina God. Amekuja hapa amekwambia venye God anataka kukubless na life poa. Whatever unapitia is for your good. Motivational speech. Kenya. Ni machachi ngapi unajua zenye zina speech gospel ya ukweli? Hakuna. Hii ndio maana nakwambia Ng'ang'a atasema kitu anasema. Asijaiona mahali popote by then nimeona video ya Ng'ang'a, but maybe strategic mali alikuwa anaongelea preaching. Inakonga tu hizi vitu za ufara hizi. Mara amebisha bibi yake, mara sijui ameitisha do. Haya, zile church zenye pastor kipuliza hivi watu 350 wanaanguka. Ndio hizo. Hadi Kanyari ati kwa church yake anashika watu hivi kichwa wanaombea wanaanguka. Acting. Kwanza kanisa iko na hizo acting. Ya Bishop Wora anakuambia nitakutibu kama wewe ni kilema, kuja. Kama wewe ni kipofu nitakushika macho uone. Watu wanaenda, kumbe wajui ni maakta wako pale. Mtu kipofu kweli agusi. Ikifika hapo kwanza unachikia amegeuka. Usiwanga kupona imefika. Anajua ni kipofu kabisa, anahepa. Anaenda kule actor wake ama anaenda kule actress wake. Mtu kilema amekuja kweli na crutches, saizi tembea. Anaruka huyo. Kenyo pale nyuma. Tunaenda kumwambia bishops. Yeah, please. Chukueni ndugu yangu mwekeni pale kando. Naomba mwanze kumtakasa. Anaenda kwa actor wake ama actress wake. Anamwambia njoo. Umekuwa kuja. Unaona mtu anajifanya anakimbia na crutches. Say they funded this thing.
Where does this leave us now? Discipline is now labeled as pharisaical. Hard fasting, traditional gender roles, and rejection of the world gets mocked as legalism. Meanwhile, a soft, adaptive faith, heavy on empathy, light on demands, gets rewarded with platforms, funding, and cultural approval. Popes can support radical reforms. Vatican II reshaped centuries of tradition. Archbishops and megachurch scandals make headlines, and entire institutions bend under pressure. But there's a massive divide. Young men sense the fraud, and a lot of them are fleeing towards orthodoxy and more rigorous discipline.
It's been an amazing change in the last 10 years or so. Since COVID, since 2020, they've just come out in droves. It's accelerating, snowball.
Young women, on the other hand, shaped by these incentives, often stay and split off to liberal sects which will reinforce their way of life and remake the faith in the image of the surrounding culture. What should scare us isn't that people sin. That's always going to happen, that's always happened, and in fact, it's when we become blind to that, that's when we become Pharisees. It's that the Christian message itself is being softened and repackaged and sold as something nice and inclusive. Christ ate with sinners, but he offered them repentance, not forced, but offered. Christ's gift to the world is exactly that. It is a gift. And it is the Orthodox Church. This is why Orthodoxy stands structurally resistant to all of these problems.
Nice. Now at least mnajua. Now at least wada tu mkuwe educated na hiyo. Inafanyika huko. Watu wanasema nini? Unajua sijaona comment section. Haven't read the comments at all. I don't know what you guys are saying. Let me read what you guys are saying real quick. Chat. Haya. Mnasemaje chat? What are you guys saying on the chat? Mnasema nini chat? 10:51 11 na malizai kitu. Appreciate kila mtu alikuwa in the earlier load. Chana nisome nyingine. Wale walikuwa to the earlier stream ilikuwa poa sana. Gathering ya watu wa realized, of course. Unajua tu realized venye ina infiltrate kila kitu. Infiltrate. In short, feminism was credited the elites like Rockefeller to divide us so they can be able to manipulate us and control us. I have seen control of the masses back when true. Hey, of course. I don't have to control it tuwezi hepa. The science guy. I like how 1930 news presenters talk. Sky captain of yesteryear. Musa, niaje. Religion was created to control the mass and everything that has happened now it's all by true. It was all by design. Na yote ilifanywa juu ya pesa. All of it was done because of money. Money. And they knew what to do. They removed the man at the top huko hivyo. Once mwanaume alitolewa, unajua mwanaume ni mtu defiant. Mwanaume si mtu tu ata fall in line. Mwanaume ni mtu ata question hizo vitu unamwambia, why are you telling me these things? Na hizi vitu unafaa kufikiria zitakuja aje. Mara you don't want the border facility, mara you want unemployed health workers to consider your jobs as a Kenya market. What exactly do you want? Mliona kitu? Werudi back kwa historia ya COVID. Ebola. So KMDPU statement on the proposed US Ebola quarantine facility. Kitu inaweza zoomika. Can we zoom in? Anyway, kitu itazoomiki. Anyway, wanasema wanataka au employers hiyo nini ya facility kikuja hii KMDPU wanataka wadaktari wa nchi ndio wapewe kazi huko, like some of the doctors wapewe kazi huko. Sawa, risking the lives of 58 million Kenyans because of greed should be the reason we should go to the streets now. I don't trust people who write this because most of them do not show up to the streets. Wanatuchochanga tu si tuende streets. Unaenda streets alafu unapata kuji. The mother of a Form 4 student died on the spot while her husband sustained injuries after the car they were traveling in was involved in an accident at Kirandauni area along Nakuru Jiji Highway. Mungu wangu. Mtoto amekufa tena pia unakufa kwa accident. Sasa ndo analisha na hizi nini depressing. Poleni. My bad. Not gonna do that. Poleni. Wewe second. Ni saa 4 na naika mood mbaya. Sawa, nani akona speech? Nani akona video ya nini? Ya inaitwaje? Motivational speech. Inaweza wekea hapa muone. acha niweke my favorite video, the secret to success, as we finish the video. Sawa? Ni hiyo kweli? The strangest secret, that's the word. The strangest secret. Kitu ni notice, usiwailala na bad news. Do not sleep with fear. Do not sleep in fear. Use sleep to your advantage. Make sure you make an impression to your subconscious. Sawa? Kinye nimekuwa nikilearn of late ni there's the conscious. Angoja, let me acha nitoe kitu kwanza niwakukie. Let me cook for you guys. Sasa kuna the conscious, the subconscious. The conscious is the masculine, the subconscious is the feminine. Sawa? So, as you know, the man has to be the head. The head is the conscious. Now, that's the masculine. That's the logical you. The subconscious is the emotional you. And most of the time, the subconscious following the conscious. The feminine follows the masculine. But now, for your subconscious to change, you have to make an expression. You cannot demand your subconscious haita kufollow. It's the same thing na. Huwezi demand them hata kufollow. But make an impression kwa them gladly. Bila hata kusumbuana, hata kufollow to any place unamwambia kufuata. Yani ataenda na wewe to whichever place unataka. Atafanya kitu yote unataka. Lakini ukienda pale na kifua haita work out. And your subconscious is responsible for the way una think, the way una move. Vile vitu zote umeona kwa hali saizi zenye unapitia, they come through your subconscious. Sasa kama deep down in your subconscious you believe you cannot lose, you will not lose. But that has to start with the conscious. Conscious yako inaanza nayo kuamini I cannot lose. Now you have to get to a certain point mali you actually believe kitu kabisa in your head, unajiambia na una make sure at least kenye unajiambia inaambatana na the feeling. Sizi kwa nasema I cannot lose but niko na uoga. Unaget? Haita match up. Sizi kwa nasema I am happy but nimekosirika. Haita match up. So the feeling has to endanisha. And the feeling utakuwa nao, the feeling yenye itaendanisha nayo, hiyo ina make an impression in your subconscious. Unaget? Ukifanya mdema feel poa, atakupenda bro, atakutambua bro na mtenda naye. Lakini ukitaka tukasirishe dem, unataka uhuzunishe dem, amtenda naye mahali. Sawa? That's just my 2 cents yenye nimekuwa nikilearn of late, and I hope you will adapt that na mtaenda mbali. The feeling is the secret. Imagine. You are supposed to attract things to you, not chase them. Unafaa kuattracta madem, si unachesa madem. Sawa? Wise man. Acha sasa tusikie video as we finish. Kwa sababu mi najua kuna watu deep down in their heart and in their soul hawataikuwa maskini, hawatawahi sota. No matter how loud they are, no matter how arrogant they are, no matter how unlikable to some people they might come off, they'll never go broke. Kwa sababu they believe deep down in their heart and their soul hawezi sota. Sasa ideas na watu wako na pesa watakuwa drawn to them, na kuna watu wataitoka kwa maskini. Hata usaidie mtu aje, hata umpatie 1 million per day, atarudi sote, kwa sababu ajui deep down, hajitambui design. Unanipata? Hajitambui design. Kuna time Mike Tyson alijua hizi lose fight yote. Kuna time Michael Jordan alijua hizi huwezi beat Michael Jordan. Because deep down in his heart, in his soul, in his spirit, alijua hizi mchapa. Na alikuwa napiga zoezi to match hiyo kitu. Unanipata? So, unless to change mindset yetu vizuri hiyo design, tutakuwa tunashinda kwa hizi mashina. Na hii kitu nimekuja tu kurealize after nianze kusota sahi. After sasa maisha nitandike, I was like, hey, by the way, ni mimi nimejiletea ngori yote. I attracted these things deep down. Kwa sababu unajipata uko na doubts, unajipata sasa una fantasize juu ya shida, yani una fantasize juu ya shida sana, to the point unaanza kufeel hizo uoga, unaanza kufeel hizo vitu. And guess what? Mother Nature kitu moja inafanyanga, what you plant, what you sow is what you'll reap, whether you like it or not. So right now I am where I am because I chose to be here. So I am reaping the reward, the results of whatever I sowed. Do I like them? No. But at least sasa nimechanuka kichwa niko za, by the way, damn it. Hii ndio kibi anajaribu kuniambia lakini sionagi. It's not easy, but it's good. For some time pia alikuwa nimeamini ati uwezi acha ngwati ndio itakuwa ya all end all be all, utaitoka hapo bro. Uongo. Tumetoka na turudi hapo just because ili change nini? Mindset. Imagine kama tungekuwa napiga hiyo practice daily, kuchange mindset daily. Hiyo ni shughuli unapiga kila siku. Yaani leo nimeamka ni kuchange mindset. Leo nimeamka in 2-3 months you are untouchable. No one can touch you. You are even unrecognizable. Why na by this kuzi umechange? Yeah man.
I'd like to tell you about the strangest secret in the world.
Yep.
Some years ago, the late Nobel Prize-winning Dr. Albert Schweitzer was being interviewed in London, and a reporter asked him, "Doctor, what's wrong with men today?" And the great doctor was silent a moment, and then he said, "Men simply don't think."
Yeah.
It's about this that I want to talk with you. We live today in a golden age. This is an era that man has looked forward to, dreamed of, and worked toward for thousands of years. But since it's here, we pretty well take it for granted. We in America are particularly fortunate to live in the richest land that ever existed on the face of the earth, a land of abundant opportunity for everyone. But do you know what happens? Well, let's take 100 men who start even at the age of 25. Do you have any idea what will happen to those men by the time they're 65? These 100 men who all start even at the age of 25 believe they're going to be successful. If you asked any one of these men if he wanted to be a success, he'd tell you he did. And you'd notice that he was eager toward life, that there was a certain sparkle to his eye, an erectness to his carriage, and life seemed like a pretty interesting adventure to him. But by the time they're 65, 1 will be rich. 4 will be financially independent. 5 will still be working. 54 will be broke. Now think a moment. Out of the 100, only 5 make the grade. Now why do so many fail? What has happened to the sparkle that was there when they were 25? What's become of the dreams, the hopes, the plans? And why is there such a large disparity between what these men intended to do and what they actually accomplished? When we say about 5% achieve success, we have to define success. And here's the best definition I've ever been able to find. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. If a man is working toward a predetermined goal and knows where he's going, that man is a success. If he's not doing that, he's a failure. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Rollo May, the distinguished psychiatrist, wrote a wonderful book called Man's Search for Himself. And in this book he says, the opposite of courage in our society is not cowardice. It is conformity. And there you have the trouble today. It's conformity, people acting like everyone else without knowing why, without knowing where they're going. Now think of it. In America right now, there are over 18 million people 65 years of age and older. And most of them are broke. They're dependent on someone else for life's necessities. Now, we learn to read by the time we're 7. We learn to make a living by the time we're 25. Usually by that time, we're not only making a living, we're supporting a family. And yet, by the time we're 65, we haven't learned how to become financially independent in the richest land that has ever been known. Why? We conform. And the trouble is that we're acting like the wrong percentage group, the 95 who don't succeed. Now, why do these people conform? Well, they really don't know. These people believe that their lives are shaped by circumstances, by things that happen to them, by exterior forces. They're outer-directed people. A survey was made one time that covered a lot of men, working men, and these men were asked, why do you work? Why do you get up in the morning? 19 out of 20 had no idea. If you ask them, they'll say, well, everyone goes to work in the morning, and that's the reason they do it, because everyone else is doing it. Now let's get back to our definition of success. Who succeeds? The only person who succeeds is the person who is progressively realizing a worthy ideal. He's the person who says, I'm going to become this, and then begins to work toward that goal. I'll tell you who the successful people are. A success is the school teacher who's teaching school because that's what he or she wants to do. The success is the woman who's a wife and mother because she wanted to become a wife and mother and is doing a good job of it. The success is the man who runs the corner gas station because that was his dream. That's what he wanted to do. The success is the successful salesman who wants to become a top-notch salesman and grow and build with his organization. A success is anyone who is doing deliberately a predetermined job because that's what he decided to do deliberately. But only 1 out of 20 does that. That's why today there isn't really any competition unless we make it for ourselves. Instead of competing, all we have to do is create. You know, for 20 years, I looked for the key which would determine what would happen to a human being. Was there a key I wanted to know which would make the future a promise that we could foretell to a large extent? Was there a key that would guarantee a person's becoming successful if he only knew about it and knew how to use it? Well, there is such a key, and I've found it. Have you ever wondered why so many men work so hard and honestly without ever achieving anything in particular, and others don't seem to work hard and yet seem to get everything? They seem to have the magic touch. You've heard them say that about someone. Everything he touches turns to gold. And have you ever noticed that a man who becomes successful tends to continue to become successful? And on the other hand, have you noticed how a man who's a failure tends to continue to fail?
Yeah.
Well, it's because of goals. Some of us have goals, some don't. People with goals succeed because they know where they're going. It's that simple. Think of a ship leaving a harbor.
Man with goals succeed because they know where they're going. I hope you know where you're going, brother. I hope you know where you're going, my sister. I hope you know. So this is the live stream. I just wanted to play mpaka hiyo part. Kwa kupitisha hapo. Tata kupitisha hapo. Chani zime nikuja hapa. So that was the live stream. I want to say thank you kwa kila mtu ametune in. And I understand now success is something that you want to do, not what society tells you to do. Yes, something you deliberately wanted to do. Ini kitu ulifikiria venye utafanya, you set your goals and you pursue it. Iyo success, my guy. No matter how big, no matter how small inakuwa. Manze, yeah, change your mind, change your reality. True? Where your attention go, your energy flows. So, pay attention to negativity, energy yako itaenda towards negativity. Pay attention yako to vitu positive, itaenda huko. As much as inchi yetu inataka kutumaliza na negativity, we gotta find something good to celebrate. So, and me, I just want to say thank you kwa kila mtu ametune in. I appreciate kila mtu. Sijui hata kama nitumia kitu nitaona baadaye. But I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. And wala ataweza kusupport, naomba msupport. Nataka tu nilipe nini yangu, nataka tu nilipe rent yangu hii mwezi. Nataka tu nilipe rent yangu hii mwezi at least. Niko sure sasa nikiweza kuplan poa by the next month I think nitakuwa vitu zangu ziko set. Na kwa zimeenda vizuri. Sawa. Expect me to drop a video tomorrow. Kesho pia tuko hapa live stream early in the day. Si lazima tuifanye tu jioni. Kuna zile nafanya mchana. So kama you have time na you are in a position unaweza sikiza live stream at the same time unafanya kazi, I welcome you. Sawa. Kwa wale mko bado night shift nimeweka venye nafasi. At least nimewazindikisha hadi hapa. Kutoka hapa hivi nyinyi mtaendelea. Okay? Now I pray to God kila mtu akuwe safe in a country yenye of late hakuna kitu inakaa ku work out. Hii country yetu yani vitu tu zinakaa ku go left. I just pray your mental strength manze ikuwe up to par. Usikuwe na frustration mingi sana na vitu zisikuendee vibaya sana. Naomba tu uweze kufind at least a silver lining in a dark cloud. Okay? Naomba swara yote isikuangukie wewe, naomba tu vitu mbaya zikufanyikie. But always try to keep it positive no matter what. Positivity to know inaweza tusaidia in times like this because it's very easy to go negative. Wale mtaamua kwenda maandamano, good for you. Mimi maliniko unfortunately siwezi enda maandamano, but I just pray to God to guide. Sababu inafika point fulani tu unakimbia tu kwa God because hakuna option nyingine. Unaangalia east, unaangalia west, unaangalia north, nothing. Inabaki tu unaamua tu ni God tu wherever kutaenda. Na ujue si kila mtu anapitia mabaya, kuna wale pia wanapitia kwa zuri, kuna wale wana enjoy in these times zenye some people are crying, some people are laughing. Uliza Saturday Klabu inakuwa imebeba mtu amekuja kusherekea na pia inakuja na mtu anafanya kazi. Wewe umelewa unamwaga pombe, kuna yule atakuja ambiwa apanguze hiyo pombe. Wewe mtamaliza kulewa mtoke muende, kuna yule atabaki ambiwa safishe hiyo klabu ndio aweze kwenda mtaani. Si ndio? Same thing na supermarket. Wewe uko pale kushop, you're happy shopping, but kuna mtu bado anapanga counter. Happens in life. There are usually two sides of every coin. So as much as pengine unapitia kitu ngumu, kuna yule anapitia kitu rahisi. Juu pia ukipitia kitu rahisi ukienjoy, kuna mtu alikuwa anapitia kitu ngumu. So do not try and dwell too much on the negativity. Sawa? I hope jakasirisha madem nikiwaambia wamechange juu hizo video. Unajua hizo video sangia zina exposing watu wengine wanakasirika. Thank you for everyone alikuja hapa hivi, and may you guys have a great night. May you have really good night, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Sawa?